Hello, everybody. Welcome to tonight's race. We've got SMZ3 Super Metroid Link to the Past Combo Randomizer match between neatorific and jooniejoone. This should be a really good one. I'm joined in here by 329th in line. How are you doing?
Doing great. Ready for a nice late night race.
Yeah, absolutely. These are two fantastic runners, both really good at both these games. This is a fantastic randomizer. If you're not familiar with it, they it takes advantage of both Super Metroid Randomizer, which is good on its own, and Link to the Past Randomizer, which is good on its own. Match them together, and these guys are two of the best. That's why they're both here at this point in the tournament, and this should be a really exciting matchup to see.
For sure. It's one thing to be able to read the logic of one game, but have to follow the logic of two games and keep it going. You know, these guys are at the top of their game to get to this point where they are.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see in this one if there's any difference in skill between one game versus the other. You see that in some of these matches that even though the runners are fantastic at both games, there might be one that's a little better at one versus the other game. For instance, I know that jooniejoone is more experienced in Super Metroid, but he's done a lot of Link to the Past randomizer, especially lately. He's done cross keys races. He's done a lot of ladder races, so he's really improved there, and he's definitely was no slouch to begin with. Whereas neatorific has as far as I know, have been doing a lot of the combo randos for a really long time. So he's just been doing both games consistently. We'll see if there's maybe an advantage in Super Metroid for Junie, or if it ends up being even, or see how that affects their routing even.
And it looks like we're off.
Yeah, we're off. Both runners should be most likely jumping straight into Link to the Past. There's only one check in logic here in Super Metroid early, so it's pretty risky to go all the way down to Morph Ball and check that. So we do see both runners taking advantage of the portals that exist in this game to swap between the two. Takes you right out here by Lake Hylia.
Should see an island check and then a save and quit. Yep. Just a shield.
Yeah, so that's nothing important. Unlikely that these guys will pick that up for any reason. Ooh, we have some route divergence already.
And we got a map check over there on Nito's side. I did see crystals in Palace, Desert Palace, and Eastern Palace. I didn't catch what was on Hera. Did you happen to see what was up there?
I saw that it was red. I don't know if it was the red pendant or a red crystal, but I did see some red.
We'll see if Junie gives us a map check to catch up on that. And we're getting a look at Uncle down here on Nito's side.
Yeah, the Uncle start is pretty standard. That's a very traditional route. You can check the tree poles when you transition between games initially. There's a gives you the opportunity to check the tier 3 tree pole in Link to the Past right away, and then you can kill one enemy and then check the tier 1 tree pole right after that. Plus, it's a couple easy, quick checks. It's a little bit more aggressive to do what jooniejoone's doing and farming these bombs to go into Kakariko right away without rupees and without any extra bombs to spare. It's a little bit risky. Sometimes you can have bad luck with those bushes too, but he gets 3 quick ones. That's pretty nice for him.
And we saw the Uncle had Spring Ball, not a required item, but can make things a little easier at times.
Yeah, that's going to be really key if they have low power bomb counts going into Super Metroid early. It can really alleviate a lot of the need for power bombs to get through some gaps to get around Brinstar.
Yeah, especially if bombs is in a place that's a little hard to locate. And power bomb management becomes hugely important as you progress deeper into the game.
Yeah, for sure. You can get in situations where you have to watch out for soft locks, and just having to farm them, of course, is slow. And you can't go slow in a race, right?
Of course. And something important to look at already, some routing divergence. Because Nito went to the Uncle first, he actually found a bottle. So when he gets into Kakariko, he's going to be able to check Sick Kid. Junie's going to hope he finds one of them, or he's going to have to come back to get that check over with later.
Yeah, and honestly, for Junie's situation, he doesn't have any rupees. He's at 0 right now. So he might not get Bottle Vendor either, which if he can route those two together, it makes it not so bad to have to come back if if there's progression on one or the other. But it's
Super
definitely
missiles.
yeah, definitely nice to have those extra things going into Kakariko, which is why that standard route that neatorific took is it takes a little extra time because likely you're going to go back to Hyrule Castle again and some extra walking, but it sets you up pretty nicely for Kakariko. But we do see that neatorific did not get any bombs from Uncle, from Sanctuary, from the tree poles and the bush crab. So he's going to do the same thing jooniejoone did and actually farm these bushes down here. Two of them have a 50-50 chance of dropping a bomb. So that advantage of information and possible items from checking those tree poles and bush crabs didn't really help neatorific out in this case.
Yep, and there are bombs in Kakariko, well, but you're going to need bombs. And I speak too soon. I say they're behind the bomb block, but there's bombs in those 3 chests right there, too. So both our runners will be able to stock up.
Yeah, it didn't look like anything else of value really in there. The 50 rupees is nice because that... what I was worried about on Junie's side of not being able to check Bottle Vendor, looks like that is not the case here. He's going to have 30 more rupees guaranteed in the back of Blind's Hut, so he'll have enough to get that Bottle Vendor item.
Ooh, Speed Booster.
Speed Booster. You don't usually want to see that early in this mode. Speed Booster with no Morph Ball can be a trap. We might see an early SM dip and have it amount to nothing if they check those Speed Booster locations. There's just a handful in Criteria and Brinstar that they can get to, and even if they find progression there, they're going to have to backtrack to lock it in unless it's Morph Ball, so...
And it's a good thing he found some money because there is Hookshot on the Bottle Vendor.
Yeah, that's a nice one to have early. It's nice for movement. It unlocks a lot of checks once we get access to Death Mountain.
And Sick Kid bottle checks just 100 rupees, but that's going to come in handy for neatorific, as that puts him in range to make a purchase that he'll be very happy about as he grabs that Hookshot as well.
Yeah, he's going to get the rupees that Junie got as well, but the nice thing is he won't have to backtrack since he's entering from the south, and he already did the Lost Woods checks. He saved and quit from there, so he can check Bottle Vendor on the way up and then save and quit from Blind's Hut, so that's kind of nice. So just a minor efficiency.
Yeah, it's early on for sure, but some of those things that you find routing in the beginning come all the way back to get you towards the end of a long race like this.
Oh, absolutely. It's a race that it's long enough that it's not usually won by seconds, but it's won by seconds here and seconds there that continue to add up and stockpile. All right, we'll see where our runners go after they finish their loops. Junie's going to run out of checks here after checking the Lumberjack item. We most likely will be seeing South Shore checks. We've got the dam has 2 items, and Mini Moldorm Cave is 5 quick ones. With Hookshot, it's really easy to kill those Moldorms too. You don't have to worry about trying to hit them with bombs, which can be tricky. So, looks like that's where he's headed. I suspect neatorific will go the same way, but we'll have to see what he does.
Be interested to see if either of our runners sneak over to Agina's cave, which is a Sphere 1 location as well. Sometimes gets orphaned early on.
Yeah, for sure. That's the other option here that they could do. One of the other options that would make a lot of sense is do these dam checks into Agina. jooniejoone showing off a nice little trick you can do. You can use the Hookshot while pushing that block there to grab onto the chest and kind of just sneak past the puzzle and do it a little bit faster. It's a nice little time save. Well done by him.
Yeah, that's saving those seconds like you were talking about just a minute ago. Being able to make this whole dam in one trip instead of going back in and out.
Yep, and neatorific pulls off the same thing. Very nice.
Junie getting that Hookshot ready for Moldorm Cave. Gotta feel good not going in here with bombs.
Yep. Speaking of bombs, we did see the first power bomb pack. By the way, it was the sunken item here. That's really nice. You definitely want to have those before going into Super Metroid. Even if you don't have Morph Ball, if you go in there with Speed Booster, thinking you very well might find Morph, you want power bombs to go with it. It's nice they have at least one pack already.
Let me get a look at the back of Mini Moldorm Cave. Aside from the super missiles, not much else of note to take away. Super missiles, very important in Super Metroid, especially if Charge Beam becomes difficult to find.
Yeah, absolutely. The full heart's pretty nice too, actually. I'm not a big proponent on putting a lot of value into health because, I mean, obviously it makes you go faster, but it's never required. That fifth heart is kind of the most important one, though. That way, when you get to Dark World, you can survive. If you have full health, you can survive 2 hits from pretty much anything. But it's not looking like Dark World anytime soon. We don't have really a lot of progression. That Speed Booster into Morph Ball might be our opportunity for the seed to open up.
Gonna get a look at Ice Rod Cave on Junie's side, and it's just more missiles. So, yeah, I think Ace, I think you're onto something there. We might have to take a dip with that Speed Booster.
Yeah, we'll see. There are still a bunch of items in Sahasrara's closet and in Eastern Palace. Eastern Palace is that crystal, as you mentioned. So it might not get checked super early. And we've also got the front of Escape. Kind of interesting to me that the Junie's checking this before the Sahasrara Eastern area, since he's already done Uncle. Wait, no, I'm sorry. I had that backwards.
Yeah, it was Nito that did Uncle.
Okay. This makes a lot of sense then. Yeah, so Junie's going to check Uncle, and he's going to do most likely the front of Escape with it, since he's got Hookshot, he's got plenty of bombs. If worst comes to worst, he can always stun the guards and then drop the bombs on them without having to worry about missing any. Since that's his only way to kill these guards, to get through the front of the castle.
And we've got a fake flipper on Nito's side, as he's going to be getting some out-of-logic checks. Going under the bridge to check the man under the bridge.
Yeah, this is it's a bit of a slow check, but it's not a very good time to route it in most cases. So I kind of like this call. Opting not to do the Zora area, which makes a lot of sense. You can't do the Waterfall Cave without flippers or Moon Pearl, or boots, I suppose, to set up a water walk. You can't get the Zora item without the money. He can't get the Zora ledge. It would be very fruitless.
Yeah, and seeing as how Nito did check the Uncle checks ready, he's going to make the choice to go over to Eastern Palace, which is a good play. It's high item density. You get 3 for free in the back of Sahasrara, plus a little bit of information on where your green pendant is. So you might, be able to know. It's definitely going to be in the Dark World, but what items might be required or possibly to skip.
Yeah, absolutely. It not only that, but it lets you know where you might want to enter Dark World. Knowing if, say, Thieves Town or Skull Woods or Pod. Ooh, there's a mirror. That's nice. Knowing that one of those is the green pendant might affect your decision on whether you want to start Dark World at Hype Cave or start at Village of Outcasts. So that's good to have early.
And I didn't want to jinx it, but it actually was what I was thinking. Turtle Rock is the green pendant, which means we may not have our Ice Rod hunt that usually shows up with these.
Yeah.
So, not guaranteed yet that we don't need to go there, but...
Even better, we might have an Ice Rod hunt to get something off the green pendant.
Or off Ped.
Exactly. There's plenty of game to be played. It didn't look like anything so far in front of Hyrule Castle. I saw some power bombs that jooniejoone picked up in the first chest. Meanwhile, we see Nito starting into Eastern Palace. The mirror doesn't really give us anything right now. It's great to have, but no progression. So he's kind of forced to continue here into Eastern Palace a little bit.
And like we said a minute ago, more supers. He's not going to say no to that, especially right now.
Yeah, honestly, it looks like we've had, unless I'm just tuning them out, it looks like we've had way more supers than regular missiles, which is a bit interesting, but it can happen.
And just like in the dam, having some strats, able to use the hookshot to skip a couple of rooms, and he's rewarded handsomely with a morph ball. So that speed booster for morph ball was bait there.
Yep.
Grabbing the morph ball out of Eastern Palace.
Yeah, so good job on neatorific side to be thorough and grab that. I imagine jooniejoone will be doing the same thing, but we'll see when neatorific goes to Super Metroid. He does have 2 power bomb packs. So
And a good location for the big key. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good location. You can get the big chest without having to go all the way through in the dark, in case you get some valuable aggression. But 2 power bomb packs is really nice for routing early Super Metroid. If you don't have 2, it's pretty tough to get through without having to farm and just waste a lot of time. But it looks like jooniejoone set up Death. I think he stole the key from the front of the castle, which is interesting. That could potentially be big. I wasn't able to see what he got in the back of Escape, but that is locked by either lamp or gloves. So if he got some value there that we weren't able to see, that could be really big. Since it does take a lot of time with that death warp. You see the rats and the bats didn't take a lot of health off of him. Even on green mail, it still takes a long time to set up that death warp.
It's the one drawback to the 5th and 6th hearts there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, good job for both of our runners, though, doing these dark rooms. It's not an easy feat, especially with nothing really to help navigate apart from the hook shot, which kind of stuns you in place while you're using it, so it makes it hard to use reliably to continue moving through. But neatorific did dark rooms in Eastern, while jooniejoone did the ones here in Hyrule Castle.
And we're getting our first run over into Super Metroid now. And yeah, that's 30 supers he's got already.
Yeah, that's quite a bit. I did just realize the second power bomb pack we saw was in Hyrule Castle, so neatorific does not have that second pack, which could be a pretty decent advantage for jooniejoone if he gets that morph ball out of Eastern somewhat soon, or has those going into SM.
We're getting a nice... Oh, I thought we were getting a nice gauntlet set up there. Oh, I think he's going to save first, so I guess he could scum it if he's not happy.
Actually, with only 5 power bombs, he's not able to get in and out without doing the Shine Spark across. So neatorific is forced to refill his health. I think he had enough health to do it before, but to guarantee it, he's going to refill his health, and then he's going to do the Shine Spark into Gauntlet to get through the first half, and he'll use his power bombs to clear through the back half. So that's something that Junie would potentially be able to do faster when he goes in here with a few more power bombs.
Great setup, though. Gets it on the second try.
Yeah, that's a pretty tricky short charge on that ledge. Well done from neatorific to get that so quickly.
And as Junie's crossing the bridge, it's looking good. Looking like he's going over to Eastern. This is the play he needs to make to get all things firing. We know he's going to find his Morph Ball and his Mirror. 2 very important items for this combo.
Absolutely. We don't know if the mirror is required yet, but even if it's not, it helps speed up movement so much. You really want to have that early. Ooh.
Silver arrows and bombos.
Yeah, that's a pretty good gauntlet, I would say. I mean, silver arrows early. We definitely need the bow to beat the game for Eastern Palace. It's logically required for Ganon's Tower, but there are some ways around that if you know how.
And it is a red crystal. Sorry to cut you off there, but it is a red crystal on Tower of Hera. So that's 3 pendants in the Dark World.
Okay, yeah, it looks like our tracker link force caught that one. I saw that on the bottom a moment ago. So good job on him catching which red thing that was that I didn't catch the first time. All right, there's actually a second powerbomb pack from Neatorific. That's pretty nice. He is already kind of doubling back towards the ship after Gauntlet to refill, so it's still a little bit of a time loss that he didn't have those earlier. But it's not too big of a deal since he has a little extra right now. He should be able to get through the Brinstar checks pretty easily with his 10 power bombs.
And because he doesn't have bombs, this fight shouldn't... Oh! Bombs, but the wrong bombs, the wrong game of bombs. So he gets to skip that chorizo fight. Be interested to see if he uses power bombs to jump because they picked up the spring ball so early, if he remembers that he has it.
Well, that's a good point. I forgot he had it too. It's not on our tracker. We only have a limited amount of space on here on the screen, so only the most essential required items are here on the tracker for everyone to see. So I forgot he had that. Thanks for reminding me.
There's no shame. We've all been there where we're looking around for an item that we have because we never use it.
Yeah, exactly. So it looks like Junie did pick up his morph ball. He's going through the rest of Eastern Palace. We'll likely do the dark room as well to get to that vanilla big key chest, which was an E-tank, which we have a lot of E-tanks. This is a pretty comfy early Super Metroid game. 4 E-tanks, 30 super missiles, 10 power bombs. That's pretty nice. No suits, and there's some enemies that hit pretty hard still. So you got to be a little careful, but you can take some extra hits and not have to worry too much.
It's a pretty healthy seed on both ends. We've gotten quite a few heart containers for A Link to the Past as well.
Yeah, for sure. So it looks like Neatorific doing a pretty standard route here, going through Brinstar. Takes a little bit of a second to decide how he wants to tackle that. Sometimes you're so used to doing the mock ball to get to these early supers and Brinstar reserve checks.
Ooh.
Wow.
Stacked back room there. We've got our first sword, as well as the Book of Medora. And that book is going to give us access to Desert Palace as well.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. No glove or fire source or boots, so desert's not completable and not very appealing right now.
Not appealing
But
at
it's
all.
nice to have for later. But yeah, you notice that Neatorific with the speed booster actually had to take a second to slow down and use the intended strats to get to those items.
Yeah, as you said, always used to coming in just mockballing. And just some more health for both games. We had a heart piece and an E-tank.
We'll see if Junie does the same route here. Looks like so far he's doing the same thing, going up to Criteria Supers right away with the speed booster. Makes a lot of sense. I assume he'll do Gauntlet as well from here. And then we'll see if he decides to go down to Brinstar right away, or if he decides to go into back to the ship, maybe into Wreck Ship, which is available logically, or potentially down Red Tower. Those are some other decent options with some dense item locations. Neatorific going into this room here to fill up his power bombs all the way to 10. 10 is enough generally for what you're going to want to do here, but it's still not the best. So going one room over to get a guaranteed power bomb drop from those fleas the fire fleas is a good idea. It definitely makes sense.
Yeah, just some missiles up here in Pink Brinstar. And Junie happily grabbing his bombos and silver arrows at the end of the gauntlet.
Yeah, nobody's going to turn down the silver arrows when they're that readily available. Yeah, they're certainly not required. These runners are both way more than capable to do silverless Ganon fights. But it's faster on Ganon, faster on a bunch of other bosses and rooms. So you're not going to skip them.
And that is the thing I love about watching these runners, is that beautiful setup by Neatorific, just effortless to get those alpha supers.
Yeah, that was very fast. There's a handful of setups that work there, and that was one of the quicker ones. He did a great job of that.
They make it look easy for sure.
That they do.
And it looks like we're going to get a wave gate glitch as well. And again, same thing. Just effortless setup and execution. I love it.
Yeah, that one's pretty tricky, especially without high jump boots. The setup's a little bit more precise. You kind of have to have a better feel for it, as opposed to if you have high jump boots, you jump and you shoot at the right time. There's more inputs involved without, and Neatorific nails it. It looks like, as expected, not a lot of route divergence. Nice moonfall from jooniejoone, though, to get down to these Edakun's items. I don't know if we saw Neatorific do that and I missed it, but that was very smooth.
Yeah, the only real difference here is that Junie decided to go ahead and go through Zelda's cell and kind of pass through those dark rooms to get to the back of the escape, and that's really the only time difference you're seeing right here. Other than that, covering the same ground.
Yeah, exactly. It definitely appears that Neatorific's ahead, but it's hard to say. If he ends up going back to Hyrule Castle, making those same checks, he could end up losing that time. Speaking of, he's having a little bit of trouble with this this Shine Spark here, Waterway. It is kind of awkward without Gravity Suit. You have to do a short charge, which isn't too bad. It's a pretty what's the word I'm looking for? It's a pretty safe short charge to do. It doesn't take a lot of precision, but activating it in the water is kind of unintuitive. But he gets it after a couple tries. Nothing really too much value. The power bombs are nice. Really refilling his power bombs is more valuable than the extra capacity at this point in time. And as you mentioned, 329, I think he might have forgotten that spring ball that he has, because you see Neatorific doing a midair morph there when he could have just done a little spring ball jump.
I was just about to say it. You feel bad, but also it's an okay item to forget as long as it doesn't lead to any soft lock. You know, resets he didn't need, but you know, not required. So it's not like he'll be looking for it, wondering where it was. And another medallion. So that's both our Bombos and Ether medallions. While they do deliver some, you know, a punch of magic on A Link to the Past, they're actually required to open both Misery Mire and Turtle Rock. There are 3 medallions in total, and with the randomizer, it randomly picks one of those 3, which will be the key to let you into the dungeon. Now, we do know that Turtle Rock is a pendant, but that doesn't mean we won't be going in there later. So good to have those.
Yeah, absolutely. This is interesting. The way that jooniejoone placed the power bomb there. I don't think I've seen that. He placed the power bomb so he could get the charge beam item, and then have the wall opened up to get to the early supers, or the Spore Spawn supers, rather. It's really interesting. I think it's going to end up being the same since there was no real value there at the charge beam, and he's going to want to go down to Waterway. If he didn't have Speed Booster, I think that would have been a lot more effective. He didn't really lose a lot of time doing that.
But Junie delivering that excellent execution again, just like Nito did. Not an easy trick to pull off, and just set up and move on like it's routine.
Yeah, for sure. It's hard to say, but both these guys have had such good movement so far. It's hard to say whether or not Junie's been gaining time or losing time or just keeping pace. I think apart from the difficulties in Waterway that slowed neatorific down, it's been pretty much the same. So if jooniejoone gets this first try, I think he's going to be saving just a little bit of time.
And he does indeed nail that first try.
Yeah, nicely done.
And our old school mother brain is not going to be grabbed today. Just an arrow upgrade. Oh, sorry. Something else to note is we've grabbed quite a few 300 rupees since we've been here. So when we do make our way back over to A Link to the Past, we will have Zora money. Still need our first lift upgrade. We're flippers to get there, but something to keep in mind that's going to become available.
Yeah, that's kind of like the medallions that you mentioned earlier. It's one of those things that it's just nice to have. And there's another 300 as we talk about it. It's just nice to have. It's one less thing to worry about. You probably won't need all these rupees, but you have them. You just don't even think about it. Don't let it affect your routing.
And I did see Junie do a similar midair morph to get through Pink Prince, so I'm wondering if they've both forgotten they have the spring ball.
Yeah, that is very possible. I didn't see the way neatorific left the Criteria Super's location, but I imagine he would have springballed up those little steps on the way out. Didn't see it, but if he did that, then that means he knows.
I'm seeing our tracker letting us know that that's definitely what took place, so...
A little surprised. I didn't see it on Nito's side, but looks like jooniejoone grabbed the heart piece in the ceiling there. With as much health as they have, I would have imagined they might be skipping heart pieces at this point, ones that are even at all out of the way. They start to add less and less value the more you have. Although the item fanfare is removed in this randomizer, so of course you don't have to wait the 7 seconds upon picking it up. You do in vanilla Super Metroid, and it's faster than it is in Link to the Past as well. All right, we see neatorific going to wreck ship. Everything here is in logic, with the exception. Actually, no, everything in here is in logic. He's got grapple beam, and speed booster to get him across the sponge bath over to the wreck ship E-tank. So, yeah, this is all logical. Not really going to be too much slower than if he had any other equipment. And neatorific is still grabbing those heart pieces as well.
I definitely like this play because, like you said, there's he's not missing anything to full clear it, and he's going to get a boss out of the way. And with this combo randomizer, we're going to have to take out all 4 of the Super Metroid bosses, as well as the 7 crystals in A Link to the Past. So if nothing else, you get a little bit closer to your goal and can maybe think and plan out your next routing based on what you see start popping up.
Yeah, absolutely. Wreck ship, there's a lot of comparisons to Swamp Palace. And I kind of think of the bottom of wreck ship is like Swamp Palace, and the top of wreck ship is kind of like left side swamp. It's slow with the bowling room, but it feels really bad to skip it if there's something there. There's more items, of course, than there is in left side of swamp, so it's more likely to be progression. And these guys are early enough, with enough pieces missing. It's unlikely that Nito will skip it.
And at just over half an hour, we have our first boss on screen as Neatorific takes on Fantoon.
So for the Doppler strat to get a few extra missiles in. He isn't able to get enough in there in the third round, so we'll have a fourth round on this Fantoon fight. A nice easy fourth round since he was almost done.
Saving that super missile right to the end because, as we may not know out there, the super missile will actually send Fantoon into an enraged state, making him invulnerable to damage for a period of time. So wait until it's enough to take him out for good.
Yeah, the enraged state not only makes him invulnerable, but if you're not careful, it's really easy to take a lot of damage yourself during that part, and it's slow. Even if you do it safely, it's a slow way to do the fight. And without screw attack or charge beam, it's not a very safe way either. Alright, let's see where Joonie decides to go. I imagine he's going to do the same thing. Probably will be following Neatorific into Wreck Ship here. I kind of hope he doesn't so we can see some route divergence, but it would make a lot of sense if he chose the same. Since we didn't get a lot of direct progression in Brinstar and Criteria so far. A lot of kind of later game items with those medallions. With the hookshot and mirror already being in hand, but not really usable yet. Until we go to... Actually, no, we can get to Death Mountain through Norfair.
I was gonna say, I wonder if someone's thinking a Kraid play, go down, clear out some of that area, and then flip over to Death Mountain, since we don't have the lamp or the lift upgrade yet, and make advantage of that mirror and hookshot.
Yeah, there's still a lot of Death Mountain, though, that's inaccessible. If it is fire-locked, there potentially is the chance of not being able to complete Tower of Hera, which is a crystal, so you definitely want to be able to clear that when you get to it. I don't know if both of our runners know Herapod. I think that they both do. So that wouldn't necessarily be an issue for beating the boss since they have the hookshot, but if there's an item in the basement, you probably want the fire source to go in there your first time as well. So you don't necessarily want to beeline for it when there's other dense checks. Nito doing a good job with the spiky room of death. Only on power suit, it's a very dangerous room.
Owen gets rewarded nicely with a space jump there.
Yeah, that is good to have. That's good movement item. With no high jump especially, it's nice. And it's our first official can fly since we don't have morph bombs. So there's a lot of locations that are now accessible that weren't before. None really in this area. See how jooniejoone handles his Fantoon fight. Going with the same strategy, using these Dopplers of timing his missiles. It gets a few more missiles that first round. Those Neatorific's fight. Of course, there's also the RNG of how long it takes Fantoon to open his eye. And where the flames spawn as well to block your shots. Both runners getting a little bit of bad luck there. Well, it looks like jooniejoone will have a 4-round fan tune as well, so not really a big difference here between our two runners.
And with that super missile, Fantoon is down on Junie's side. So that is one boss apiece for both of our runners in Super Metroid.
Yeah, that's right. Both on the same pace. Oh wow, neatorific doing a nice job of getting that speed boost, that short charge. So he could use a speed booster to clear out those enemies on his way through the attic the second time. You notice he did it the first time as well. It's a different setup for the second pass through that I'm not familiar with, but that was very well done.
And just a shield down there. He's not worried about picking that up. And by getting this space jump a second ago, it'll make moving through this bowling alley room just a little bit smoother. Doesn't have to wait for the clunkiness of the grapple beam.
Yeah, that or the damage boosts, which damage boosting I want to say is faster than the grapple beam. Oh, he actually gets the shine spark, but he hits it into the ceiling. That's unfortunate. Yeah, he has tons of energy, so he got that nice short charge to shine spark across. But made a mistake with his inputs and went into the ceiling instead. Now we have our coffee break of Super Metroid, comparable to the Link to the Past tile room, only, I don't know, it feels slower, at least in my mind.
I feel like Super Metroid is just the faster version of A Link to the Past because the cutscenes in ALTTP are just, they drag on forever.
Yeah, agreed. jooniejoone playing pretty aggressively, damage boosting through Spike Room of Death. But it is a fast way to do it. Yeah.
Oh, and just some missiles up here at the wreck ship reserve.
Yeah, a lot of runners scout that early, which you can scout it from above, and if it's nothing, you save a little bit of time. If it's something of value, you're wasting the time to scout it and then go pick it up anyway, so it makes sense either way. Unfortunately for neatorific, it was nothing, so jooniejoone might make up a little bit of time on that one. So yeah, space jump and not a whole lot else from wreck ship. That didn't seem to be our major progression here.
Yeah, I would imagine he's going to be heading south after this.
Yeah, this is a pretty standard route. It's kind of hasn't opened up really anywhere except for that morph ball find. Morph and speed boosters really are only big things that have led to anything. You're kind of forced to go down Red Tower. And we'll see what he does in Norfair as we see jooniejoone set up a... Oh. I hope he saved.
It looks like
okay,
it, yeah.
He did. Yeah, he was setting up a crystal flash there, but looks like he did not kill the atomic before doing it. And yeah, you don't have any iframes when you're doing crystal flash. So if you get hit by enemies during it, they hit you constantly. You just wrecks your health.
Oh, he had just saved. I thought he saved before he grabbed space jump. He had just saved right there.
Okay, that's good.
Goes out, makes the choice to kill the atomic this time, and goes ahead and refills that. And while we were watching that go down over there, neatorific finds the Varia suit, as well as a room before that he found Strength 1 for A Link to the Past. So that's going to be our first lift upgrade in that game.
Yeah, that's a lot of good stuff here. So really, you have a lot of options here. We might see neatorific just continue to stay in Super Metroid with the Varia suit. We'll see if he does the Death Mountain, East Death Mountain loop first before clearing out Norfair, but Norfair's not really going to get much faster at the same time. See what game he's more comfortable in, where he feels like the progression is. Those are, with the exception of Croc, I would say likely things he's going to do regardless at some point.
It's funny, we were just talking about how there hasn't been much progression opened, and then all of a sudden, in just a couple of checks, we've got a couple of options, different ways we can go. 'Tis the way with these.
Yeah, the glove. Still, we don't have a fire source to do desert. We have the book, we have a sword. Now we have a glove to get to the back. No fire source. It opens up the back of escape, which jooniejoone already checked by stealing the key from the front. He did that out of logic. It's now in logic. It gives us Zora, but I guess that's not a whole lot from that glove just yet. Not until we get Dark World access, or maybe another glove, or we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we're still missing Moon Pearl and another glove or the hammer, so Dark World access is a little bit away.
Absolutely. Nice meme item at a meme location instead of the Spazer that many runners debate on whether or not it's the best beam or the worst beam. We find the single rupee. I like that.
It's just the seed letting you know that it knows how to have fun. And I don't think we saw a check on Junie's side, although I was checking out neatorific grabbing the various suit. So I think we're gonna see him just go ahead and blind check the reserve.
Yeah, it looks like it. With Speed Booster and the amount of E-Tanks they have, it makes sense. I guess one of the bigger reasons you wouldn't do it is because it could help you decide how you want to manage your health through the bowling room. But with, what are they at, 6 for Junie? And looks like 6 for Nito too, right? Oh no, 7 for
That's
Junie.
seven for
Yeah,
Junie.
you got a full row. I need to work on my counting skills. Yeah,
And
he's
we're
grabbing
looking at
that
our
as well.
second boss fight over on Nito's side, as we've got Kraid.
Don't imagine we'll be looking at it for very long. Probably be seeing the quick kill here. Nicely done. One shot to force Kraid to open his mouth, and then 4 super missiles. Very well timed. Nice rhythm there from neatorific to get that done.
And again, just making it look easy. That is such a hard trick to pull off.
Yeah, it really is. The hand lifting up and down just gets in your way so much. If you have a charge beam, you can stun Kraid so that he stops lifting his hand. Without it, you don't get that luxury, and you just have to be very precise with your super missile shots. Not only timing, but positioning.
And as we said at the beginning, that's why these runners are where they are in this tournament. Both at the top of their game for execution for things like that. Major movements like that, but also the ways they're optimizing how they're getting through each and every room.
Oh, for sure. It'll be nice to see some more routing options open up, because their execution's fantastic and their routing's fantastic too. We haven't really got to see much of that. The seed's been very straightforward, but I'm sure we'll get to see some good decision making from our runners as they get more options, and it becomes a little bit less of a linear, full clear as you go through the game type of seed that we've got so far.
And Junie about to be rewarded with his various suit.
Yep, and we do see, before doing the Death Mountain checks and Link to the Past, neatorific is going to Ice Beam, and he'll be checking Crumple Tower as well. We'll see if he goes down to Croc. because if you're gonna do Croc, this is the quickest way to get there. Since he's already gonna be in Crumble Tower, it's just a quick run, one room to the right. But at the same time, that's kind of considered. You can consider it a pendant dungeon for Super Metroid, where it's got a pretty good density of items, but at the same time, you're fighting a boss, and you might not be needing to do any of it ever.
Oh, he's glad he's doing it now. Grabbing the flippers at Crumble Tower. And yeah, I like that comparison, the Pendant Dungeon. Croc being one of 2 bosses in Super Metroid that is not required to beat the game. The other one being Batwoon. Although they definitely can lead to some stuff in some cases, Batwoon being required to get to where you need to go. But they don't count towards the boss count.
Yeah, I like that we're not even considering Spore Spawn as a boss. He's so forgotten.
It's a shame because he's got a great song.
Yeah, I agree. It's good music.
Yeah, I completely didn't think to put him in there because you never see him.
Yeah, not unless it's a casual playthrough or an all bosses speedrun or something like that. But nicely done on the Croc fight. It's a pretty standard fight. Just getting used to the timing of when he opens up his mouth, getting those shots in, making them count.
And with that Flippers find, important to note that we have no knowledge of what's in the Dark World. So Flippers is only required for Swamp Palace, hard required for Swamp Palace. But that doesn't mean we won't get something good from it on a Flippers check.
Yeah, it's one of those things that even if it's not required, it's good to know for routing is in logic. So it might push our runners a little bit closer or more eagerly into Ice Palace and some of those other flipper block checks.
Speaking of ice, we find the ice beam down here at Croc. I'm going to have to say that Croc was worth it today.
Looks like it. Again, Ice Beam not required either necessarily, but makes the Metroid rooms considerably faster. Excuse me. It increases your damage as well, so if we get a charge beam, it could potentially make the Mother Brain fight faster. Gets us, if we didn't have grapple or speed booster, it would unlock some things potentially out of logic, but we don't have to worry about that this seed.
Well, I just lean to the quality of life with the Metroid rooms. And we see Kraid over here making an appearance on Joonie's side. Also, getting that quick kill. Just cannot say enough good things about the execution of these runners. Beautiful job on Joonie's side.
Yeah, that was excellent. And you see that the Junie used a little bit of a different setup, too. Instead of using 4 super missiles, he used some missiles as well. It's a little bit more inputs because you have to switch, but it ends up being a little bit faster, like just a hair faster than using the 4 supers. So nicely done. And both of them getting that quick kill.
I liked the way you phrased it, Ace. A good rhythm. That's something that it gives you that consistency. So seeing Nito, the way he fired that off, just saying, he just had a good rhythm to the way he was playing it.
Yeah, that's kind of how a lot of things in this game feel, honestly, that so much of the movement and enemy patterns and how you go through the rooms it has a certain flow to it that when done well, it just looks amazing. And these guys are doing a great job of showcasing that in so many of these rooms.
So nothing required that we know of so far down here in Croc. We're not sure about those flippers yet. But I think as early on as we are in this race, I think he's going to be happy to have both those items.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. We'll see if there's anything here at the Croc Escape. Since Neatorific went straight into Ice Beam, he didn't scout this out, which is something that most runners tend to do. You definitely would do this if you didn't have Speed Booster. You'd scout that out first. It looks like it was nothing important, so he'll go into the high jump area. And jooniejoone actually skipping that Croc loop for now. Both high-fiving.
I think that's Hammer right up there. Indeed it is.
This is the Hammer. All right, so that's good to have before going to Death Mountain, since these runners are both going to be able to do East Death Mountain into, well, they actually the other way around. They can do Tower of Hera into East Death Mountain and gain some efficiency on routing instead of having to drop down and hookshot across. Neatorific not doing Death Mountain right now. Interesting. I would have suspected he would do a Death Mountain loop and then go back in through the portal into Bubble Mountain checks. He might be doing the exact opposite. Heading to Bubble Mountain, then he'll maybe head back across the Frog Speedway and then do Link to the Past after.
Yeah, completely legitimate way to play this routing. I wasn't trying to push the Death Mountain play. It's such, with Paradox Cave up there, I mean, it's, 7 or so checks for free with the equipment that they have, so.
Yeah, I mean, checks per minute, it's going to be faster than Bubble Mountain. And the other thing is, if you get the right stuff, you might be able to do Lower Norfair into Upper Norfair, into these Bubble Mountain checks later, and save just the tiniest bit of time there. But the transitions take time too, so of course there's always a risk reward, and there's advantages and disadvantages to both options.
And now we see Joonie heading down to Croc. He's going to grab those flippers, and you're going to see the ice rod early when you've got a pendant turtle rock. And there was the ice rod, but we are grabbing the flute, which is a great use of movement in A Link to the Past, and in some cases is required depending on what we need to do as far as mire goes. But in this case, that's just going to help them be able to move around the map much more easily.
Yeah, this is a stacked Norfair right now. There's a lot of value here.
Unfortunately, picking up his 7th E-Tank. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you're fine. I was going to say, fortunately, jooniejoone is doing Crocomire. Going all the way down, he's going to get his Ice Beam here as well. Oh, neatorific just off a tiny bit on that Shine Spark. And bonks his head on the ceiling. To drop down and take a little bit of a longer path back. Neatorific is a little hesitant to use those missiles. He's got 80 of them. That's kind of surprising. Using his Spazer to kill some of those enemies.
And speaking of missile counts, I do think it is a little interesting. We started out picking up supers all over the place, left and right, and we're stuck at 35 now for the last, let's say, about half an hour or so. So they're going to be hoping Charge Beam shows up.
Yeah, Charge Beam or a lot more missiles, because this is not enough. Not enough ammo at this point to kill Mother Brain. Speaking of more of those super missiles.
Little commentator blessing, just helping him out,
The double.
For sure.
That's pretty nice.
If only I could find a way to go back and stop myself from saying that 15 seconds ago.
Neatorific farming up. I'm not sure. He might just be doing that just for general safety for whenever he decides to go to Lower Norfair later. I would be a little surprised if we saw a lava dive right now. High jumpless lava dive. But I'm not sure what else he would need the supers for apart from Lower Norfair at this point. Just, I guess just thinking really far ahead, which is good for him. Since it's a quick farm, you might as well.
And this may push him, that flute also may help to push him over to A Link to the Past, as we're seeing, because now he doesn't have to worry about losing this warp point back. The flute will give him access to Death Mountain, even though we don't have the lamp. And these runners both more than qualified of getting the spawn point as we see it happen. Gonna go ahead and grab this out of logic without the lamp.
Yeah, no lamp, but they do have the sword they picked up. That's really helpful for these dark rooms. Just so you can have something to see the entire time to find your way around. You can kind of feel the walls as you do it. See, Joonie just following in stride. Yeah, no real divergence yet.
Yeah, I was just about to say that time difference really, besides some little optimizations here and there, has really come down to that front of escape check. That's about how out of sync they are right now.
Yeah, and neatorific is going to save some time on those escape checks. Because he's got the glove, he can drop down right here into the back of escape. I wasn't keeping track of where all the items were, where the map or the small key were. But he might potentially be able to skip the Dark Cross, which is a pretty long walk. In addition to not having to navigate nearly as many rooms in the dark. Looks like the small key was there in the back with just some supers of note. Nothing else really valuable.
Quick mirror strat, getting the refill of the health and then jumping right to the front of the room. And Joonie about to pick up 10 more super missiles. Got 5 in the ceiling and 5 right here.
I appreciate the music neatorific's making for us with that mirror spam for no reason.
And Nito on his way to activate that flute. That's going to give him some great movement around the map.
Yeah, we'll see where that takes him next. Let's see, where do you think he's going to be going at this point? Back up Death Mountain? Almost certainly, right? Is there anything else we've got?
I'm going to say, I think we're going to have to get a check on what's over there on Death Mountain. Without that Moon Pearl, we still don't have Dark World access, so...
Yeah, it looks like we're seeing a ped check first. This is really interesting. I would have suspected we'd see this later with no knowledge even of what all 3 of the pendants are and a mirror already in hand with the book. I would have figured we'd see this later with like a Skull Woods clear. Or maybe even when we first dip the front of Skull Woods or Village of Outcasts.
Oh. So that's a rough thing to find.
I think it's fun. It's fun for us watching.
Well, it's definitely going to make this, that's going to be weighing on the back of their minds. Is there something on that mushroom turn-in?
Yeah.
It's a lot of commitment to find out what's on that mushroom turn-in, but it could make or break a race.
Yeah, honestly, you kind of... It's frustrating at first, but it's one of those things where you just pretend like you didn't see it, you know? You don't know what it is. You might as well have just not checked it. And you think of it exactly the same way as if you didn't even check the pedestal at all. Which doesn't feel good because you walked all the way over there and you got no information.
Indeed. And if anything, it's something, like you said, they'll put out of the back of their minds. But then if you end up, you're looking for something towards the end of this, that might start to weigh on the conscience. What do I do with that knowledge? The curse of knowledge, as they say.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
Neatorific making that dive into Zelda's cell, and at the same time, Joonie's jumping back into A Link to the Past, so it's going to be tightening up that little gap that we had from early on.
Yeah, this is an interesting play. It's kind of similar to the pedestal check. It's a very conservative play, which I think makes sense and doesn't surprise me from neatorific. He tends to play, from what I've seen, very thoroughly and conservatively. Try not to skip anything or put anything off too long. This is a Sphere 1 set of checks that, at least the first chest in here was Sphere 1. The rest was behind the gloves, logically, since that's where the small key was in the back of the dungeon. But he knows it was available early, and he knows that jooniejoone might have done it immediately, and he doesn't want to leave anything hang out here if there's value before going to the more dense areas. With the mirror, he could have opted to try to check it later with the pyramid, which would have saved a little bit more time. But this is definitely a safety play right here, which makes a lot of sense. I kind of like it.
And we see the opposite A Link to the Past play here as Junie is taking a chance to look around Death Mountain now before he goes and activates that flute.
Yeah, and he's going to be jumping right into Tower of Hera, which makes sense. I think, I don't know, I'm not sure if Neatorific does know the Hera pot. I believe he does, but that could be a decision point. I know jooniejoone knows it, and he might be willing and eager to jump in Tower of Hera.
And no Master Sword yet, so that's good. Just going to be a check on the tablet, and it's looking like a mail upgrade.
Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate because it's one of those things that you don't need it, so you're not going to come back for it. But at the same time, you kind of want it since you went all the way to read the tablet. You'd like to have the mail for your troubles.
Depending on what's in this next chest, we may have a logical lockout. But again, if we know the Herapot glitch, we'll be able to make progress a little higher up. And never mind, there's your big key.
Yeah, he has the big key. It is faster anyway. Oh, there we go. Neatorific does find that chest, get that heart container for his trouble out of the Dark Cross. It is a little bit faster to still do the Herapot, even with the big key, provided you get it fairly quickly. See, jooniejoone using some menu buffer strats. Nicely done. Gets it the first try. The other nice thing is you get the free ferry here on your way up, which in his case, he was only at 3 hearts in the lobby. That's pretty nice to have.
Gonna get a look at what's in this big chest here. Small key for the basement.
Our second bottle, right? Yeah, we had one that was very early. Somewhere. Uncle, I believe, had the first one.
I think it was Uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, it doesn't really add
the
anything
same
here.
play. Oh, and there's our map check. So we've got a Skullwoods pendant, an Ice Palace pendant, and a Turtle Rock Green pendant. So those flippers are required for Swamp Palace.
Yep, and the other red crystal was at Misery Mire.
And Moldorm playing dirty today, knocking Junie right off the side. Let's see if he can get this on his second attempt up here. It's tough with hammer strats on this. The hitbox for this tail with a hammer is just awful.
Yeah, it's one of those things that you've really got to get used to it. It's awkward because it's different when you're facing different directions. But not only that, you've got to get used to the way Moldorm moves, and you can kind of figure him out a little bit and predict him after you do it enough. But it's still tough, especially without boots. Boots just help with your maneuverability so much. Ooh, so we're seeing the same strat from Neatorific here, doing a Herapot himself.
Indeed, and at 1 hour and 7 minutes, Moldorm goes down, and that's our first crystal drawn for Link to the Past. 6 more to go. And for all that difficulty of using the hammer hitbox, Junie shows just how precise and good at this game he is, as he does take that first fall, but then cleans it up very nicely on the second try, gets rid of Moldorm.
Yeah, this is a little interesting from Junie going into Paradox Cave from the top. I suppose he doesn't have anything else that he needs to do on Death Mountain after Paradox Cave and Spiral Cave. I would have expected he'd do Spiral Cave first,
Yeah.
and then go up Paradox. It looks like he's gonna do Paradox and leave through the top and then go down Spiral Cave afterwards, which I'm not sure on the time difference, but it's not common. Oh, a fall from neatorific as well.
Well, at least Moldorm's playing fair on both sides, right? Keeping it
Exactly.
even.
Yeah, we got both create quick kills, both 4-round Fantoons, both have a Moldorm fall. A lot of consistency from our runners, which is really nice to see.
We've got the Quake Medallion. Oh, and there's our second glove upgrade. So we are now at full strength in A Link to the Past. Still missing our Moon Pearl, though, for Dark World access. And at just under an hour and 9 minutes, we've got our first boss down in A Link to the Past on neatorific side. So we are all evened up, 1 crystal apiece.
Yeah, evened up with just a couple extra checks on each runner's side. You know, it's funny, I mentioned the joonieJoone's routing here. He's actually going to get a little bit of efficiency by getting that pair of Titans mitts in Paradox Cave. He's going to be closer to the Dark World portal when he's done at Spiral Cave. So I think it ended up saving him a little bit of time doing that.
And it's actually funny to note that taking that time to do the front of Zelda Cell, Junie has completely caught up. Aside from a flute activation, you know, they're covering the same ground so far.
Yeah, the flute activation and the knowledge that Mushroom is on pedestal.
Oh, yes. I've already put it out of my mind.
Yeah. If you want to call that knowledge. All right, joonieJoone's going to be doing a little glitch known as Super Bunny. When you fall down pits as a bunny, like to a different level, it gives you certain abilities that you don't otherwise have. So he's going to, just as you can without being a bunny, use the mirror to delete these blocks. And then when he falls down, he'll be able to open chests. So he's going to grab these 2 chests without having the Moon Pearl. They are not in logic, but you're already right here. And it's not too tough to do.
And nothing for his trouble today.
Ooh, joonieJoone did not check. Oh, he's got all 3 medallions. Just kidding. Neatorific is about to pick up the 3rd one here. Right. I was going to say he did not check the Turtle Rock medallion, but he doesn't need to. He's got them all.
Well, see, he doesn't know that Mushroom is on pedestal, or he would have gone over, you know. Definitely needs to know about Turtle Rock when you know about Mushroom. And as neatorific finishes up his Death Mountain checks, interesting, he doesn't take the glove to the Super Bunny check. Or maybe we're seeing that now as he restarts at the mountain.
That's
now
surprising.
He's got a flute out.
Sure, those are quick checks. Might just be trying to stick to the logic. He does have access to, of course, Desert Palace from both sides now. Agina was still hanging out here from basically the beginning of the game that was available. And he's got access to Lower Norfair as well. Logical access through the portal here in the Mire area.
I actually really like this play. If nothing else, just get to take a peek at what's on those first couple of items in Lower Norfair.
Interesting. Looks like he's trying to set up a damage boost to get Super Bunny status here in the Mire Shed. You can do it with taking damage while you enter a cave like this, or you can do it while using the mirror the same frame you enter. Which is surprising he took the damage boost strat, but he did it really nicely. That was very well done.
But similar to our Super Bunny glitch on Death Mountain, we're not yielding anything for all these impressive tricks. We are going to get a look at Checkerboard quickly, though.
And it looks like joonieJoone failed the damage boost setup for it, so he decided to go for the backup with the mirror and gets that nicely done. I love seeing the runners show off different ways to do the same glitches. Especially if they're trying more than one strategy, they just shows their wealth of knowledge that they know how to do all these things. And execute them so well.
Yeah, when you're running a race that's, with logic as deep as both these games, and then both these games combined, you need a plan B for your plan C.
Exactly. Well said.
And Agina's Cave just giving us some more money as if we weren't rich enough.
Yeah, another high five here as our runners check the same areas, but very slightly different order, since jooniejoone did not check checkerboard yet. And we're not seeing Desert Palace from neatorific. It is potentially not boots locked. And even if it is boots locked, we might still have access to 1 or 2 items in there. So it's a bit of a surprise that he's not going in there to at least check it out to see if those boots are required. A lot of runners will check that just to gain that knowledge, if nothing else, before doing these Lower Norfair checks, which is obviously the most dense area that is left unchecked. Fully equipped for it. Plenty of super missiles for Gold Chorizo.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing a desert play just because it's something you put off till you have the fire source in the back of your mind. And sometimes that comes to get you if the fire source that it's expecting you to use is right there on the doorstep.
Yeah, especially because there's 2 fire sources, right? I mean, it could be either of them.
Mm-hmm. And just missiles down here. We are going to get that check on Junie's side, though. Again, can't do too much with this, but it's going to be some knowledge. Are we boots locked? And is there anything hiding in here that I need? There's an item on the torch, so we are not boots locked.
Not boots locked at all. We might get the second item out, which would be really nice for Junie if he gets the second item here on the right side or in the big chest. He would know that he's got to come back with a fire source, of course, but it doesn't have to be anytime soon because there'll be no items left.
Yeah, that chest had to... Oh. Sorry about that. Yeah, that chest had to be a small key to keep progressing through.
Yep, and with the map there, we've got the big key guaranteed to be in its vanilla location.
This is a hallway you miss boots for.
And at the same time, we see neatorific farming up those supers up to almost full. He's going to be going through to Ridley, and with no charge beam, you can't afford to miss too many shots. He's got quite a few extra. Looks like he'll be using some for the pirates as well on the way to Ridley, so he's got a few more than he needs. Some issues with the fast pillars. Taking a second attempt at that. Get the Shine Spark through here.
And while Nito's setting this up, we do pull our second item, which is just a heart piece, so not going to need to come back to desert anytime soon.
Yeah, that's good information for jooniejoone for sure.
And he is making the same play, taking that Mire portal to warp over to Lower Norfair.
Yeah, without gravity suit, neatorific lost a lot of time not getting that Shine Spark. That's a tough one. Get that short charge without going back through the gate and, eating a bunch of time lost for the room transitions. Trying to set up the tighter short charge didn't quite work out for him.
And speaking of that plan B for your plan C, I've become a big fan of freezing those pirates, but without the plasma beam, not able to do the damage to them to bring them to that point. But Nito making great use of his movement through that worst room in the game, taking advantage of the space jump.
And we see jooniejoone didn't have enough super missiles to take out Gold Chorizo without having to farm during the fight. But smartly gets his missile count down below 30 so that he only gets the attack that he wants from Gold Chorizo and is able to farm those balls that he throws out to get the ammo for his super missiles back. And he's going to be farming the Rippers as well.
And we've got neatorific just diving deeper and deeper into Lower Norfair. Gonna be making his challenge to Ridley soon.
Yeah, he's taking a safety save here. You shouldn't need it. With his skill level, it's really unlikely that anything bad will happen here. But this might just be one of those things where the peace of mind of knowing that you saved can help you play more confidently. And end up being worth it. It's not very much of a time loss.
Yeah, I think even something else that might factor into that is that not having charge beam. So not as much dying as soft locking.
Yeah, potentially. He has been saving his super missiles, though. Which is interesting. And it tells me that he's going to go into the fight with 40 plus super missiles. Which I think... be very surprised if that isn't sufficient for neatorific. Oh yeah, he's using the nice Shine Spark kills on these ninja pirates, so he's going to have even more super missiles than I had expected.
And Junie actually grabbing that Shine Spike through the columns. So making up a little bit of time there.
Yeah, those are nice fast pillars, and he's having slightly faster worst room in the game by using those supers, at least some of them, on these pirates. Yeah, health is something to keep an eye on, though, of course, down here. These enemies, you're meant to have gravity suit, so the damage that they do to you is substantial when you just have various suit. And I would imagine that's why neatorific's farming up here. No high jump boots, no screw attack makes manipulating Ridley's AI a little bit awkward, and things can go awry pretty quickly. So he probably wants a few more E-tanks. We'll see how much he decides to farm. Meanwhile, jooniejoone just full on health. Doesn't look like he's going to be having that issue. Mostly due to that fast pillars, like we said. He didn't spend as much time in the lava. That was a big difference. That and the key hunters coming up. We'll see how he handles them.
Yeah, he's a little smaller on the supers count though, so we'll see if he takes some time to farm as well. And while farming health, Nito actually gets a full 50 count on that supers.
He's missing a couple shots, but overall doing a really good job of making these shots count. Knowing right where to stand when Ridley's pogoing to avoid taking damage and land as many hits as you can. Oh, does it get grabbed there? That was really weird. I'm not sure what happened. But he did a good job of counting, knowing when Ridley was done. Landing those 30 super missiles is all you need. And just Ridley missed. Missed the grab somehow.
Doing a very nice job to cleanly get rid of his third boss of Super Metroid. So that is 3 out of 4 bosses down in Super Metroid. But don't worry, folks, there's a lot of race left, as we still have 6 crystals that we're trying to find in A Link to the Past. And we're getting a little bit of a high five here.
Yeah, high five is both the runners farm on slightly different platforms. They look the same, but I think... Actually, that might just be the screen cropping. Joon's might just be in a position where you can see further left. No, he is one further. Okay, yeah. Joone is one platform further, closer to Ridley. Funny. And he farms up just a couple extra. He's only going in with 33 super missiles, and only 10 missiles as well. That was a big difference. neatorific had a lot of missiles for backup, so Joonie's got to be a lot more careful with his supers. He does have a couple power bombs to use if he needs it, but he's doing a great job so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't stop to see if he saved.
I don't believe he did, but I'm not sure about neatorific, but I know jooniejoone has experience in a lot of different speedrun categories. Has some experience in reverse boss order. Competent at handling this fight with even less equipment than he's got right now by a pretty wide margin. So
And with
nicely
that,
done.
yeah, we see Ridley down on both sides. So we've evened up the boss count. These runners really just neck and neck. There have been a couple of extra things that Junie has checked. Junie did do, check through Desert Palace, found both items in there. So even though you're seeing a difference here in time, Junie's got a few more things out of the way. So no doubt Nito will be making some trips, and giving Junie a chance to even that up.
Yeah, and neatorific taking the save after Ridley makes sense to stay safe, but at the same time, it puts those key hunters in a really awkward spot. And for a lot of runners, they would say that it makes it more difficult to get through that room safely. He does take 2 hits, which isn't too bad. He's still got 3 E-tanks. If he gets in trouble, he also has tons of ammo. He's going to be able to Crystal Flash. He's just got to keep an eye on it and make sure he doesn't go beyond that point and take a death from a hard-hitting enemy down here.
Yep, and grabbing another super missile pack. We are 5 away from, I believe it is the 60 needed to take down Mother Brain, if nothing else.
Yep, they have enough missiles that at least neatorific is already in ammo go mode with those 95 missiles to make up for the deficit in supers. Junie needs a little bit more ammo still, but looks like he shouldn't have too much trouble finding it with how much of the game we've got left. So that's not really a concern. And you can watch Junie. Oh, he also takes 2 hits from the key hunters. So again, runners showing consistency between each other.
And just like before, we're finding supers in pairs. As there was another pack up top. Oh, and here's a really nice find.
Yeah, it's a bit of a trolley location since we're on our way out of the area where you take the most damage and would be most in need of that damage reduction from enemies. But it does put us into Meridia. This is really interesting because I know I said I would like to see more route divergence earlier. At this point, I'd be kind of interested to see if our runners can continue to keep pace with each other through Super Metroid and just basically full clear it. I'm curious to see what would happen or what will happen if it ends up being that way when they get to Link to the Past and exhaust their Super Metroid checks. This might be the case of one game then the other.
I say, in my experience with running this, Super Metroid, you get the stuff you need to clear it. A lot of the stuff is quality of life.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it improvement. So to be able to motor through Super Metroid just makes sense, and then you take that to a kind of a wide open Link to the Past at that point. So we'll, like you said, be interested to see if they stay in step. Something else maybe important to point out for those of you watching. That gravity suit find in Lower Norfair means that was the logic needed you to go ahead and grab that flute and go through Mire. There was no other way in there.
Yep, go to the Mire area as a bunny, go through the portal, and then get your gravity suit. Unless, of course, we see the Moon Pearl somewhere. There might be some checks that we haven't mentioned. I'm trying to think of any offhand.
Well, we do have Zora outstanding, and we have a couple of dungeons we may be able to have dipped in with our current equipment. But regardless of Bunny or not, that Mire Shed was our entrance.
Yeah, one dungeon we could dip in that I don't think we're going to see is Ice Palace. Interestingly enough, you could get in there as a bunny, and you can take a death and revive and complete the dungeon. These runners have everything they need to do that. As Unlikely to happen, I think, at this point, though.
Yeah, that
Especially
Zora
with the
play
fight
still out.
sword.
That Zora check's still outstanding. We don't know what he's got.
Yeah, that's true. If for some reason Meridia turns up empty or fairly empty, we might see that on the exit. There's another one of those portals between games here in Meridia that the runners can take. That would put them in a pretty good spot to mirror and swim to Zora. We see, again, I mentioned it before, neatorific playing a little more conservatively. Joonie took a lot of damage on the way out of Lower Norfair, but he got out really fast. So he's in Meridia. Looks like he caught up some time on neatorific, but at the expense of his health. He's only got 1 E-Tank. Nito's got a full 6.
Oh, and there's that Moon Pearl hiding up on the side of Mama Turtle room. So yeah, there was gonna have to go through pretty much all of Super Metroid to make any progress in A Link to the Past now.
Yep, that does open a ton of things, though. It's looking like both the runners are going to continue through and probably just full clear Meridia while they're here. There's a lot of checks here. It's pretty spread out. It's a tough area because there's so many things to check, but it does take a long time. So if there's things you can skip here, you can save a ton, but at the same time, you're taking a big risk with how many things are still missing.
Yeah, and I think if either of our runners so far, based on what they've done, is going to go ahead and full clear this, I would expect to see neatorific go through this entire area. Like you said, you could take a gamble, but you have everything you need to full clear this area. So you'd hate to leave something behind, only to have to make a trek all the way back here, getting stuck somewhere in A Link to the Past.
Yeah. Oh, I want to point out something that I noticed that's funny. Both the runners having a little bit of difficulty with these enemies just using Spazer as their only beam. Both were taking some damage. Some enemies that they expected to die, it looked like, and weren't taking the deaths. Both of them learning from their mistakes, switching to missiles to clear their path.
Adaptability at its finest.
Yeah. Yeah, and to your note about potentially full clearing or making that gamble to leave, I think that the decision might come if there's an item in one of the sand pits that they want to keep. Instead of taking a loop back around and then pushing on through Meridia, they might decide to leave and then come back through the back door later to fight Dragon. That'd be a potential interesting and potentially beneficial routing decision that could be made.
And going through quite a few more checks, just finding another heart piece and the red meringue.
Yeah, no real value to that. They both already have the blue boomerang, which is generally agreed to be the better one.
But to your note of some of the more aggressive play on Joonie's side, he's already caught up. He's actually a room ahead now. But Nito taking a stop here, making the save, going to check the sand pits.
Yeah, he ended up ahead in a way, but at the same time, now he's got to stop and farm. He's farming back that healthy loss. It's interesting the way that shakes out. That you can use your health as a resource and just take hits to push through, but sometimes if you don't get it replenished the way you want, you've got to stop and refill it somewhere else, and you just end up the same.
And Joonie's going to skip out on the sand pits for now. Nito getting a look at that first sand pit. I believe it was right side, and there was nothing, so he saves Scum back.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, it was left side. So he's going down right side now. And Joonie bringing our second mini-boss. 2 out of 2 now on screen as Botswoon. And that's a big nothing. In right side sand pit as well.
So that Shack Tool to see on neatorific side. A nice Botswoon fight from jooniejoone. Just takes 10 supers, lands them pretty quickly there to get that fight done without any trouble.
Yep, just as quickly as he shows up, he's gone.
I'm interested to see if we get a Plasma Beam check on Junie's side after the Dragon fight. That's one potential advantage he could have with his routing here over neatorific, that he's going to be able to do like the sand pits with Shack Tool and Plasma all together, whereas neatorific would have to go back to Plasma as a one-off since he's got all this cleared out already. They don't have a way to do that check logically, but they can use short charges. Both of them have shown repeatedly that they can handle short charges, and they definitely know what they're doing to do that without trouble. So that'll be interesting if either runner or both of the runners decide to do that.
And while we're waiting for Shack Tool to finish up over here, we're also waiting on Junie's side for Dragon to make her appearance.
Another fetch quest, another awful spot.
It's only slightly better than Mushroom on Bed.
I would almost say that's worse.
Well, while we
because
decide,
here you're priced into keeping. You have to keep it. With Pedestal, you can just ignore it and hope it's nothing. You don't have to worry about it.
You've got the flute. You can make the check. Get over there. But while we are deciding what's worse, Junie does take down his final Super Metroid boss, and that is all 4 bosses cleared out on Junie's side. No doubt Nito on his way up to do the same thing.
Yeah, with the grapple beam, it's pretty easy. The tricky part is getting that quick kill where you can grab onto the wall with the grapple beam at the beginning. As soon as Dragon grabs onto you, we'll see if neatorific's able to pull it off as well.
Oh, he might just go hit her over the head with that shovel.
All right, and yeah, so, like I said, neatorific finding something of potential value from his sandpit checks, he is going to be leaving. It makes sense. You can kind of like split Meridia in half at Botswoon. He does have access to it from the back, logically. So he can potentially go later and kill Dragon from the back and then clean out the rest of it without having to do Botswoon, without having to do quite as much travel, potentially.
And as neatorific makes his way through A Link to the Past, he's armed with that Moon Pearl. So the world is his oyster right now. Getting dead rocked a bit.
And he does have 2 more checks up here. He opted not to do Super Bunny Cave as Super Bunny, so he's going to be doing it as regular Link.
Yeah, see, I don't mind this now because we're going to be able to route in Hookshot Cave, I would imagine, with it too.
Yeah, I'm sure that was at least part of the decision-making the neatorific had, that it does devalue Hookshot Cave a little bit if you do that Super Bunny earlier, which can potentially hurt you because that's 4 quick items that you're going to have trouble getting to.
Something else to keep an eye on, both our runners still on Fighter Sword. So as we get into the Dark World, these are some tougher enemies, some tougher bosses, and we're not going to be dealing out the damage we want to. So you'll probably be seeing a lot of hammer strats, some ice rod.
Yeah, no boots either. Boots are surprisingly a nice safety, as much as they are good movement items. You can dash through enemies and generally protect yourself a lot better than trying to walk around them or slash them.
Junie taking a look at that shovel and decides it's definitely going to be worth his time. He'd hate to come all the way down here and have to end up needing that.
Yeah, nothing worth our time in Hookshot Cave, though. I'm curious whether this might factor into Junie's decision of whether or not to do plasma, um, because that's one of those checks that you'd want to potentially um, like save scum if there's nothing there. But now he's got the shovel, so he's going to want to lock the shovel in and not have to backtrack from plasma. So I would imagine Junie's going to skip that as well, and we're just not going to see that, at least not at this time.
Yep, and with plenty of hearts and a cape, we're going to go ahead and get a look at Spike Cave here on neatorific side. Now, it does look like he's going up on Junie's side.
All right, I was mistaken. Looks like he's going to eat the potential time loss of all this travel. Then just go all the way to plasma and then come all the way back.
No, I'm with you though. I'm not sure. I mean, he's where he is and I'm where I am because of very good reasons. So this man clearly knows what he's doing. But this is one of those things that if it's nothing, this is a big time sink, and it's technically out of logic.
Yeah, and with how much is in logic, if your logical checks were thinning out, or you had reason to suspect that this was going to be in logic soon, it would make more sense, I think. But he gets wave beam for his troubles. That's probably not worth it, but at least it's a consolation prize. It's not totally wasted.
One of the key items in making the baby skip consistent, though.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes it more consistent, and just no matter how good you are with it, it makes it faster. If that's a trick in your repertoire.
Ooh, and taking a shine bonk right there on the ledge. And we've got neatorific making his way through the village of outcasts.
Yeah, we're going to be seeing a lot of checks a lot more quickly. These are some of the densest Link to the Past checks, apart from Death Mountain and those real early checks that we've got. A lot here in Village of Outcasts, a lot in Hype Cave. Of course, Thieves is a crystal, so looks like there's no reason for neatorific not to clear out Crystal Thieves Town while he's here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we've said several times that I like the density. He has so much open to him. Go somewhere where you're fully clearable and you can just get as much out of the way as possible.
Yeah, and Thieves Town is one of those dungeons that almost every chest is right on path, too. You don't have to go out of your way. You don't have a left side swamp situation where you have to decide, do I want to go to that half of the dungeon because it takes so long? You don't have a decision like Tower of Hero where you can maybe skip the basement because it takes so long. These are just right on path. You're going to grab them pretty much no matter what.
And just echoing some of those thoughts about Wave Beam and Baby Skip, that might be something that neatorific never feels the need to make a check for. So that Wave Beam could end up playing a subtle advantage on Junie's side when it comes to execution. So far, not a whole lot of nothing in the front of Thieves Town.
Yeah, I think the time save from that, even if you attempt and fail Baby Skip because you don't have Wave Beam, and that was the difference. Let's say that happens to neatorific, that it's still not worth the time spent to go get it. With how little's left in the game, your usefulness of that Wave Beam is almost none. If it was earlier and they had some bosses left that you could potentially either X Factor or Microwave to get rid of, maybe that'd be a different story. Or even just use Charge and Wave Beam to get extra damage on some enemies and bosses, but yeah, at least it's something for Jooniejoon's trouble.
Yeah, it's another one of those, kind of like we've had with the shovel or the mushroom. Like, I came all the way here. I have the knowledge. Gonna get a look in the attic at Thieves Town here.
upstairs, but a map. We don't have the small key yet. I have not been counting items here in Thieves Town. But we still have the small key available, which could be locked in the big chest, inaccessible at this point because of the way Neatorific has routed the dungeon. Which is totally fine. If it's locked in the big chest, you just don't do that check, and you're getting the advantage of that.
Yeah, I only ever worry about that when I don't have a hammer in here. Just a few extra seconds if he has to go over and peek in that. Nothing like coming in here without a hammer and wondering what you've orphaned.
No, exactly. It looks like it is just the small key in that big chest, so nothing to worry about. Saves the extra couple screen transitions and the time taken to check that chest.
And on Junie's side, we are going to get a look at the medallion for Turtle Rock. Not that it's going to matter. We do have all three in our possession already. And it's Bombos today. I'm going to go ahead and open that up just in case he needs to step in there. It is our green pendant, though.
Yeah, and it's his first Dark World check. I don't recall which of our runners checked Sahasrara to know that green pendant was there. But either way, I kind of like this play from Junie. He gets the portal open that you're going to want to open later anyway to get to GT. You open the dungeon to get it out of the way, so if you end up having to go in there, it's already open. And it's just a little bit faster than climbing up Death Mountain in the Dark World. So with Super Bunny Cave already done, it's kind of a no-brainer for him to go up this way.
And at 1 hour and 45 minutes in, Neatorific takes down his second boss as Blind goes down. But a very clean Blind fight. That's 2 crystals on Neatorific's side. Looking like we're going to get a dig game check.
Yeah, he's got an extra crystal over jooniejoone, but missing that Dragon kill, so it kind of evens out in that regard as far as progress goes.
Not going to pass that up as Neatorific digs up the next sword upgrade. That's our Master Sword. Nice jump in damage output, but it also gives us the chance to pull anything off of the tablets.
Yeah, that's potentially really nice because it looks like Neatorific's going back for the Smith chain here. He's gonna grab the Smith and turn him in, do hammer pegs. He'll grab the purple chest and take that down, which puts him right next to the Bombos tablet. With that extra sword, he can grab the item. If it ends up being good, that's gonna be happy he picked that up just in time. If not, I think he's still happy to pick up the sword just for the combat.
Gonna get hammer pegs checked before turning the Smith in.
See, a Cane of Samaria and hammer pegs. So that gets us into Turtle Rock, at least to get started, and we can full clear Misery Mire now. Well, potentially. We don't have a fire source. But depending on the key layouts and item layouts, we might be able to do Mire.
And we're gonna get a look at what kind of business the Smiths are in today.
Love Smiths.
An interesting divergence here, which we thought this might happen, as Junie takes his work into the Dark World up to Skull Woods. Can't clear this without the Fire Rod. Can't fully clear this without the Fire Rod, but he's going to take a look and see if it's hiding right here. And just as you said there, Ace, grabbing that purple chest, heading down.
I like this play from jooniejoone. Definitely the fact that Skullwoods is a pendant is likely to be a factor here. He's hoping he can grab both the items out of the front, never have to come back since it's a pendant. and it routes smoothly down into Thieves Town. So it's we'll see if it pays out for him, but I like it. It's a good decision. Not that it's, of course, a bad decision for neatorific to have skipped it, since, again, it's a pendant dungeon, might not be necessary at all.
Well, it's one of those plays that... Oh, Plasma Beam on Stumpy. It's one of those plays that you feel good if you find something. Because you got to think, yeah, maybe my opponent didn't decide to take this chance. And that shovel turning out to be useless. And we also didn't point out there was half magic in Cave 45. Not required, but a nice quality of life improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if we don't get a better sword that might have some usefulness in some places like the Trinex fight or the Cold Stare fight. Those can be pretty tough without half magic, especially with just Master Sword. That's the way those end up.
Yeah, even some Ice Beam strats on Lammo. Oh.
Well, there's another sword. We won't be seeing those fights I just talked about.
And I believe it is considered the biggest damage improvement, going from Master to Tempered Sword. Tempered Sword damage is what you want to be doing, especially with this much of a Link to the Past left. They're going to be cutting through stuff pretty nicely. And routing in that tablet check as we thought. Just a missile here, and we do know that the Ether tablet is our mail upgrade. And I don't know, Ace, I'm feeling a hype cave check.
Yeah, interesting that neatorific opted to flute there. I don't know if that's faster or not. It seems like it would be about the same as taking his portal back. That's really interesting. I guess I would imagine it's slower since it's not very often seen, but it looks to be pretty similar. Meanwhile, nothing really of note in Skull Woods. I didn't see what was there on Bumper Cave.
It was a missile tank.
Missile. Okay.
Oh, and there's the boots and hype cave. And the fire rod. Well, that's why the fire rod wasn't in Skull Woods.
Yeah, with it as a pendant, that could be good for neatorific. It might be bad. We'll see. He might end up... I don't think we saw both items. I think we saw one item in Skull Woods. Unless I missed it. There was just one item, so we might go to the back looking for that bow, which I think is all we need so far. That's all that's left that's required to beat the game. We've got so much open at this point. It's kind of become a pick'em of which dungeon do you go to first to try to find that. jooniejoone pulling the double single arrows from the chest game. The first item is a random refill, like a recovery heart or a bomb or maybe some cash or an arrow. The second one being the actual randomly placed item. Happen to both be the single arrow to mock the fact that they don't have the bow.
Well, I like this play on neatorific's side. You got to do it. You'd love to go mode it, but in this case, it gives you a chance to think through, where you want to check next and get a little progression out of the way. Bow not required for anything in here, so this is nice and clearable.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right here. If you hit those items there in Hype Cave, the closest dungeon is Swamp, and it's the closest you're ever going to be to Swamp without having to, flute to 4 and take the warp, which isn't too out of the way, but it's still extra travel time that he doesn't have to do right now. We'll probably see Desert Palace fairly soon from neatorific as well, even though we know it's not boots locked. We know there's no value there. He doesn't know that, so he'll probably dip in there to hopefully find something. It's a nice quick dungeon. Nice quick crystal dungeon. You can pair it with Mire nicely.
Yeah, I would agree. Even a full clear of Desert Palace is such a quick effort. Again, it just you're inching closer towards progression. You know, you're getting more of the game completed and giving yourself some time to think of the next big move you want to make.
Yeah. Being one item out of go mode, we do see neatorific doing left side of swamp first. He has not picked up the map compass or the big key yet. So this is a little bit interesting. It is faster if you're going to be full clearing the dungeon, especially with this nice setup he's doing for the left side, where you can set up the switch with a bomb so that when you transition back north, it'll activate the pegs. And he's doing diver down to just kind of confuse the game, jump in the water without touching the water, so you can walk and run as if it's not even there.
No doubt happy to have boots for this.
Oh yeah, Swamp Palace without boots feels very bad, to put it nicely. You walk extra slow through that shallow water, so it just exacerbates how long the dungeon is.
And while neatorific has given us some new information on Left Side Swamp, we see Joonie about to make his way into the basement of Thieves Town. Just some missiles and some rupees on Left Side Swamp. But again, I agree. I think you have to check it right now. You know, you're one item away.
Yeah, I would say without the map, compass, and big key, a lot of runners would opt to do the back of the dungeon first, hoping that one or two or all three of those are in like the left side and the big key and the big chest locations, so that maybe you can get lucky and just clear the back of the dungeon and never have to go back in, or maybe go back in for one item and then skip the other ones. Or just hit your go mode in the back potentially on route and not worry about it. But if you're with how many things are left unchecked, I think that makes a little bit more sense for neatorific to do left side first. There's so many places where he could find that bow that the odds are that it's not here. You want it to be, but it probably isn't.
And we've got blind in the last phase over here on Joonie's side. Very nice clean fight, and he takes it down for his second crystal of A Link to the Past. And if you're just joining us, he also does have that boss lead. He did complete all 4 bosses of Super Metroid, while neatorific is putting off Dragon to finish a little later.
Yeah, I would say if jooniejoone ends up doing the Smith chain checks right now, this is a very close race. If not, jooniejoone's going to be potentially in a little bit of trouble depending on where that bow is. But he's obviously got to do dig game first, because you cannot take the Smith or the purple chest into the dig game. It will not let you play if you have someone following you, even if that someone is a treasure chest.
How rude. And only 10 arrows on Argus. But you see the use and the efficiency of that tempered sword as he's able to take out a puff with just 1 slash. You know, flash forward here, if we would have been on fighter sword, that is a long fight.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see if neatorific... Did you know, did he get all the items in the dungeon? Did he get the map compass? He got the big key in the back, which is potentially unfortunate. I don't know if there's an item in that big chest.
I didn't see compass. I saw map for
Okay.
sure. I didn't see compass, so I think the compass is in the big chest, but I would hate to be wrong about that. And indeed, as we thought, Joonie taking that Smith chain, he grabbed his Master Sword from the dig game, and hopefully he takes that purple chest that leads him over to his boots and his fire rod.
Yeah, so we'll actually be seeing these runners sync back up again, it looks like, with neatorific going through Meridia, finishing off Dragon, whereas jooniejoone is going to be getting his items that he needs for his almost go mode, his bow mode.
Interesting to note too, Junie grabbed plasma. I'm sorry, Nito grabbed plasma off of Stumpy, so he may go ahead anyway and check that plasma room because he can get out for sure.
That's true. I'd be a little surprised if he did, just because it's such a long check, and he's got Crystal Desert, Crystal Mire. He's got Pyramid Fairy once he's done with Mire as well. There's just so many quicker checks in Link to the Past. I know he's been... Both the runners actually have been very thorough and conservative. But I think there's a time where there's too conservative. And we'll see if that's what he opts to do.
And don't forget, we have everything we need to make progress through Turtle Rock. So even though that's a pendant, we are not lacking. We've got both Ice and Fire Rod, so... I don't know, bow on Trinex maybe?
It's very possible. Bow on Mushroom, perhaps, even?
I don't even want to think about that.
I don't think the runners do either. See neatorific with the same fantastic Dragon kill. Gets the Shine Spark just like Junie got. Gets that quick kill on with the grapple. Grabbing that electricity, whatever you want to call it, right away when he gets picked up by the shrimp.
Yep, and with that Dragon kill, we are all tied up on the boss count for Super Metroid. Neatorific does have Argus down, and that's one more crystal than Junie has.
Okay, neatorific taking the save here does tell me he's going to be doing the plasma beam check. It is faster to save and reset if it's nothing versus backtrack. So yeah, this is a little time he's going to lose. He's going to get his, well, the last beam except for the charge beam, the one that really matters at this point.
And picking up that tempered sword, I saw a nice smile on the webcam and what appeared to be a little Schmoove and Link dance right there. So definitely happy to see that damage upgrade.
Oh, this is interesting. Is jooniejoone going to go into Swamp Palace before Hype Cave?
Ooh.
That's a bold play. I know it's a crystal dungeon, but in his mind, he's still 2, maybe 3 items out of go mode. And Hype Cave is 5 very quick items. It's really unfortunate that boots specifically are in Hype Cave, because that makes this significantly slower.
Especially if he decides, which I would imagine, to do that left side. You know, there were 2 items. They were, you know, trash items, but he's not going to know till he takes that long walk. And the hard reset there on Nito's side. Not happy about the wave beam.
Yeah, that's the right call at this point, especially without charge beam. The damage output doesn't necessarily do anything for him. It gives him a more consistent and easier Zeb skip setup potentially. I'm not sure how neatorific does Zeb skip. There's a bunch of methods to do it. Probably the most common way just involves using the ice beam to freeze the Rinkas. And it's a little easier to do with wave beams. You don't have to worry about, you know, the architecture of the room getting in the way of your shots. But it's still definitely doable without, and he's, I'm sure, more than capable of doing it.
No doubt. The skill of these runners. Very impressive movement throughout this whole game so far. And as we cross the 2-hour mark, on neatorific side, we are really just looking for that bow right now. Junie is a Hype Cave trip away from knowing that same information. So Hype Cave had your boots and your fire rod.
Yeah, and we see neatorific not expecting to use those potions, I'm sure, but figuring you might as well be safe. Potentially due to how he feels in the race, potentially just something he's used to doing for comfort. Grabs 3 blue potions, more than enough to handle anything that this game can throw at him. Dipping into Misery Mire first.
We have double Bombos required for entrance. We had Bombos up at Turtle Rock and Bombos here at Misery Mire.
We do see jooniejoone doing the same left side swamp play, doing left side swamp before the back. I'm curious to know, and hopefully we can have an interview after the race and discuss this with the runners. Some of these decisions, if they're based off of what they know of each other or how they're adapting their gameplay. I know these two guys tend to play together a lot. They partner up for some of like the co-op or multi-world races that the SpeedGaming puts on. So they definitely are familiar with how each other likes to play and the what's in each other's skill sets.
Yeah, I think rando races are always, playing the seed, playing the race, but also playing the opponent. And it's awesome and speaks to the testament of this community that these guys, good friends playing together, enjoying a great match as they make it here to the quarterfinals. Some of that stuff, like you're saying, some of that knowledge may play into why we're seeing so much thorough coverage, pretty much on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of thorough, so far our Misery Mire is setting us up to be pretty thorough with just small keys in the front. Still looking for the big key and both the items. This is not the God Mire you'd like to see when you're not in go mode. Because you don't really want a God Mire in this scenario. The third small key, even.
Yeah, Nito probably not too upset to be having to dig, because if Bo is somewhere else, that means that Junie is going to have to do just as much of this dungeon. If he happens to come back here with the bow in hand already.
Yeah, with no big key and still no items, you definitely want to do this cutscene chest, the vanilla big key chest here. Sometimes you want to try to put it off till later, but in this case, there's no point because it's almost definitely something you need. Or a garbage item that you don't need but isn't part of the dungeon item pool.
Yeah, if it turns out to be that big key again, that just... Junie's gonna have to come back and sit through this. And I do believe that I did not see the compass appear on Junie's side, so I think it's compass locked in that big chest.
Okay, good catch. That's good for neatorific, and that's going to be good for jooniejoone as well. When he learns that information, when he gets the item from the boss. We do have a vanilla big key here in Misery Mire.
And Junie making good use of that tempered sword, the same way we were talking about with Nito, just grabbing one puff, one slash, one puff, one slash. Very efficient use. Much better than being here with a fighter sword.
So that was both the items, I do believe, for Misery Mire, back to back. And nothing of value. But obviously the crystal's still here. So we can get the crystal in our map off of the boss. I would suspect that... Well, we'll see where is jooniejoone going? Is he skipping Hype Cave? I think he may have forgotten it for a second there, and he mirrored and remembered, oh no, I have to do Hype Cave. Let me go back and do that really quick. Luckily for him, he made that decision. Because the mirror suggested to me he was going to mirror and flute, possibly to Mire himself.
Yeah, he definitely does not want to be doing 2 dungeons at that speed disadvantage to neatorific.
Yeah, and I had forgotten, since it's not on our tracker, just because of that lack of space that we have available, the lamp is missing still. And this Mire Dark Room is a little tricky. It's one of those things that, like, you feel like you have it sometimes, and you just can't quite land the block on the switch to get this door open. You walk up to the block, and it's just, you push it right on the switch every time, and you don't... I'm not sure what's going wrong, but that explains the purchase of blue potions, actually. Why neatorific bought so many, expecting that he might have to use one here, keep some others for safety in other parts of the game. Looks like he's potentially... Oh, he got it. Okay.
There we go.
It's a nice adjustment, actually. It's very hard to do.
And as you saw on Joni's face cam there, just a slight nod. Little head shake of disbelief to pull those boots right out of Hype Cave after taking the slow way through Swamp Palace. Interesting here, though, we know there's no items left, but we are going to get the desert play first from Joonie.
Yeah, I don't know necessarily which one's faster. It might just be something about what movement is more comfortable for him. I find personally that the overworld movement is a little bit easier to do desert and then Mire. I guess the difference is you might find bow in Mire. That's what you're hoping for, of course. Which would make the Landmola's fight easier. Only marginally. If he's comfortable with the fire rod kill, it's not a big difference. He might have also forgotten if there's an item on the boss or not. It's unlikely, but it could be.
And we've got cape strats on Vitreous over here. And again, using that temper, dealing some damage to take him down. He is going to have to bring him out, though, without the bow. And that's simultaneous boss kills as we each pick up a crystal here. So we are tied in the crystal count. Just one difference, though. We have Desert Palace on Joonie's side and Misery Mire completed on neatorific's side. Still not sure where that bow's hiding out.
Yeah, so we're going to be high-fiving again. another high five, another opportunity where our runners' routes are so similar, but just ever so slightly off.
Yeah, and something else that might have influenced Joonie was he knew there was nothing in Desert Palace. So he just went ahead and took care of it. Whereas Nito is going to go ahead and make the full loop through. He hasn't been here yet.
Yeah, you know, funny enough, I feel like that would potentially push more value in the Desert Palace for neatorific for him to have done this first. Since finding bow in here is potentially way more beneficial than finding bow in Misery Mire. Or finding bow in desert before Misery Mire would be more valuable. Sorry, let me rephrase that. Because the Vitreous fight would be significantly faster with the bow.
Yeah, or even Lamp just hiding out.
Oh, yeah.
You know, not required, but definitely would have saved him some time in that dark room.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how jooniejoone does in that dark room. I don't believe he has any safety items. So if he gets hit by some of those Medusas shooting fireballs at him, he could be in trouble for health. And of course, how much time it takes him as well. That's obviously important as well.
He is a heart or two behind as well. Now, we do know that there's a mail upgrade on the Ether tablet, but we haven't seen another one since then. Doubt our runners will go ahead and grab that, so we may be coming all the way up to the end of this on green mail if we don't stumble upon something else.
That is not unlikely. The runners lighting torches.
Nito waiting for the cutscene, and Junie not too far from a cutscene of his own. Very nice fire rod strats. Does get 2 of the Lamos out, and there we go. Completes it on the second cycle.
Nice finish. I want to point out something really minor that I appreciate. Both the runners doing a good job of coming back down from the compass chest in Mire. Both of them blocked the tiles coming at them in the tile room. Use different strategies to do that, to get around getting hit there. It's a very small optimization to save the damage and the time loss from getting hit. But both the runners did that very well.
Oh, and neatorific taking another dip here.
Yeah, having found the big key, and the fastest way to get to either the big chest or the boss is to mirror anyway. He opted to do the boss first, hoping it's the item and he was able to skip this. Unfortunately, the item was in the big chest, and unfortunately, it was nothing. But that's a good heads-up play from him. It's a risk-reward, of course. He'd had a little bit more travel checking it the way he did, but could have potentially saved a little more time.
Yeah, between the streams, I didn't catch him not grab that. But nonetheless, we're off again. Let's see what Neatorific is thinking of next. I believe we have both our 5-6 crystals.
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. It's a very smooth way to route this. You got Pyramid Fairy, you got the Pyramid area, and then you can go into Catfish and Zora area, which hasn't been checked either.
Yeah, and that Zora's been available, keep in mind, for early on, and neither player had the money at the time. So we'll see if there's something, maybe a bow sitting on the fish.
Yeah, if it is, even whoever picks it first is still going to feel bad, I think, finding it as late as they will, if that ends up being the case. But yeah, Pyramid Fairy is a good check right now. It is pushing you like further down the logic chain, and you generally want to do that, especially at this point in the race. You want to push down rather than go back. When you go back up the logic chain, it kind of feels like you missed something somewhere, and you might be very far behind.
And Junie having a little bit of trouble with the dark room, but gets it considerably faster than Neatorific did. So good movement on Junie's side to play that dark room.
Yeah, that's a nice time save for him. While Neatorific doesn't find anything, and Pyramid Fairy goes on to Catfish like we suspected. Have we seen Bumper Ledge yet?
We did see Bumper Ledge. It was a missile tank.
Right, okay. We haven't seen Graveyard Ledge.
No, we have not. And we also didn't see Waterfall Fairy. We didn't have the Moon Pearl when we were doing our fake flippers earlier.
Right. Or the boot slot locations of King's Tomb and Bonk Rocks. So Neatorific could have went across there, across the little river to North Dark World and done that. It's a little out of the way, but you're actually closer than you think when you're going up to Catfish area.
And Catfish just tossing you some money. Is it a hint to go and spend it, though? And Waterfall Fairy turning out to be nothing. No doubt about to see this Zora check. Let's see, what do you think, Ace? Oh, and there's the lamp sitting up there on the ledge. Is Zora going to be coming through for us today, or is this just a big scam?
Oh, I think it's going to be a scam. Or maybe something like a screw attack or high jump boots that would have been nice earlier, but mostly outlived its usefulness.
It's even scammier than that. We get a severely poor return in investment.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I might be happier at this point if I've already done all 4 Super Metroid bosses to find not the screw attack.
I was holding out maybe a charge beam, just something to make the end of game a little easier on you.
Yeah, true. All right,
I like that lamp grab, though. We've got a lot more dark rooms coming up.
Yeah, Pod and Eastern Palace still both need cleared, as well as Turtle Rock potentially with a dark room in it. Well, just kidding. Turtle Rock not coming up for Neatorific. There's the bow in King's Tomb.
The King's Precious Heirloom is exactly what we needed to finish this race tonight, and at 2 hours and 20 minutes, you see Neatorific pull his go mode.
Yeah, and that's you see the one slash of potentially rage there. That's one that it seems like it's so free when you get boots. It's so easy to check, but they had so many dungeons available, and in the density of Hype Cave and Village of Outcast that it never really came up. Especially after getting the boots in Hype Cave, like you go to the dungeons at that point. So you never really were close to that. So Neatorific might feel a little bit behind based on that, but turns out he is in fact ahead.
Well, good signs for Junie. He's pulled the big red bomb, and it looks like he may be on a similar path. So hopefully that leads him around to King's Tomb, which is where we know he needs to get to as quickly as possible. And like you said, you really can't blame them, picking up boots right next to Swamp Palace. What do you think? I need to go in there and get this cleared even a little faster. So just a rough spot for those 2 items to be kind of isolated away from each other.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And we'll see if any if there's any route divergence here. Joonie is also continuing to the Catfish Zora area first, as opposed to hookshotting across the river. Get those couple of quick checks. Ooh, Neatorific making a mistake with his key count. Yeah, it looks like that was the big key, but he doesn't have the small key. So he's forced to take a loop back around to drop down and get his small key. And he'll be mirroring out and then starting the dungeon over again to push towards the boss. But that's a very quick, easy pod right here.
Yeah, and that may, depending on what Junie chooses to do next, that may be a hindrance for him making progress. If he decides to go into pod looking for the bow, now there are a lot of things open to him at this moment, but maybe he's thinking it's hiding where he needs it, and with this dungeon setup being as quick as it is, that wouldn't be good for him.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised, especially if he's doing the Zora area checks after Catfish here. It's a really obvious dead end, and if you're at an obvious dead end, you restart and get things that are near a start point. Bonk Rocks and King's Tomb, you always want to get those after a save and quit, if possible. So that's the perfect time to do them. I'd be very surprised if he did not pick up the bow before doing that.
Sitting on another cutscene here.
Yeah, could potentially do Bonk Rocks, then King's Tomb, as opposed to the opposite order. Neatorific having a little bit of trouble with the turtle room, not getting the best RNG from them. He cleans it up nicely.
Now, the best part about being able to do this Go Mode pod, I mean, besides getting gifted that big key, is you can flip right over and grab your last crystal in Eastern.
Yeah, it's a really nice convenience. And we did already dip into Eastern. Of course, that's where our Morph Ball was some 2 hours ago. So they don't need to search for the big key there either. They can just plow right on ahead into Armos Knights, clear that up too.
And with that Tempered Sword, he's not even bothering with the silver arrows. And goes ahead and takes down the Helmosaur King.
Yeah, very well done. Nice job getting those hammer hits actually to break the mask without using sword buffers too. Not having his sword out makes it a little bit faster. You don't have to deal with the lag of the sparkle on your sword, but makes it harder to hit at the same time. He does a very good job. Nice work, Neatorific.
Neatorific heading in for his 7th crystal. And then going to be making the climb up to Ganon's Tower.
And we do still have, of course, in GT, another point of divergence possibly. How the runners choose to route that and where the big key ends up being could swing things a little bit as well in this race.
Yep, we've got 22 possible locations for where that big key could be. And a couple of different ways we can go about looking for it.
Yeah, I like that setup for the Stalfos room there. The Neatorific just did. Normally you see runners grab the pot in the top right of the room, and you can walk around, throw it at the first Stalfos, then deal with the second one with either arrows or sword beams. But he opts to use sword beams for both of them. It's a really interesting setup that looks just as fast. That's cool.
Yeah, it's the first time I've seen that. I really like that. And like you said, just as fast. And that's what you're going for with these: consistency and efficiency.
Ooh, that's unfortunate. The time loss there. Neatorific connected a sword beam and the silver arrow at the same time. So the enemy took damage not from the silver arrow, but from the sword beam. And that, of course, does not kill the Igors.
But we've had these silvers from pretty early on, and they're going to make extremely quick use here. Getting rid of the Armos Knights, grabbing our 7th crystal at 2 hours and 26 minutes and change. Almost right there. There it is. 2 hours, 27 minutes. We have all 7 crystals, and Neatorific, with the flute in hand, is ready to head up to Ganon's Tower.
Yeah, and we can go ahead and run. I don't believe we have a bot or anything for it, but you can always get your guesses in chat for fun for where the big key ends up being. There's 22 chests available. We can find that. And let's hope for an interesting find. Hopefully no tile room for the sake of our runners. Where do you think that's going to be? 329?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with my tried and true guess. I like to see number 11. How about yourself there, Ace? What's feeling lucky today?
11. I'm going to go with 17. I think it's going to be deeper. I tend to throw out different numbers every time, just based on how the seed feels. I feel like it's going to be pretty deep, but not all the way to the end.
Yeah, all in all, this was a relatively kind seed. No super hard searches. I mean, we were on a bow lookout for a while, but it wasn't buried deep in a pendant dungeon like you see sometimes. So, pretty friendly seed.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Neatorific was able to skip all 3 pendant dungeons entirely. Joonie just dipped Skull Woods. Um, so yeah, that's not too bad. It was a very thorough seed. There was a lot of Super Metroid checked, but we had the tools to do it thoroughly. The runners were given things they needed to kind of route things smoothly from one to the other. There wasn't a lot of backtracking or difficulty getting through areas, so that always makes it feel kind of nice, even when there's a lot of checks.
Yeah, and that progression of various suit led you to Norfair. You finish off Norfair and Lower Norfair, and then you're gifted the gravity suit on your way out, which the next logical step, go ahead and check Meridia. So, yeah, it was very straightforward. And we've got left side first on Neatorific. Oh, there's the screw attack.
Yeah, he's going to be skipping that one. Not helpful, especially if he's doing the standard Zeb skip using his Ice Beam. He's going to want to turn it off anyway, so no reason to even pick it up. It potentially makes the escape a tiny bit easier. You don't have to worry about getting hit by the pirates as you're climbing up, but not really anything to get excited about.
Lots of keys, but not the ones we're looking for. Oh, we're flipping back over. Looks like we're going to be going right side. Getting check number 6.
Yeah, well, it looks like Dark Magician or Modified Dark Magician strat potentially, depending on how far he goes to the right, whether he continues after the compass room or not. Nothing so far in these first 6 chests. Or, sorry, 7 chests.
Yeah, 6 and 7 yielding nothing. Oh, looks like we are going to get the pause for tile room, though.
Yeah, that's interesting. This tells me that he feels behind, which he hit the bow first, so he was not behind at the point of hitting go mode with the same dungeons and everything cleared. I don't know there's really a lot of reasons to feel behind. There's not a whole lot of things that he did that were fruitless. With the exception of some of the thoroughness in Meridia, especially considering that plasma beam, that's maybe a big one.
And that's not going to feel good, as check number 8 being tile room turns out to be not needed. But yeah, I think it's interesting you point that out, because even where he picks up his go mode bow, it's not like it was on Zora at a Sphere 1. So
Yeah.
He had just gotten boots not super long ago. He did do 2 dungeons before picking up the bow, but he had just picked up those boots.
Yeah, I suppose the thinking there might be that I don't believe we had anything of value in Thievestown Village of Outcasts, did we? In that area? We had the sword at Big Game. No, the cane was at part of the Smith chain. So the thinking might be that maybe my opponent did Hype Cave first, got the boots, and then got that bow right away. But honestly, if that were the case, that probably would have been worse, because then they would have been baited into dipping pod to look for that Cane of Samaria and not find it.
So keeping up with the track here, as we go back left side, we're 12 checks in already. So my number 11 has not yielded anything, but still hope for your 17. Let me check 13 here.
Not there at the Firebar room. I do want to say not to throw shade at our runners. Walking up against the conveyor there makes me cringe just a little bit on Neatorific side. After going through that room with the hammer pegs.
A very nice use of the hook shot to go through that peg.
Trying to use the same strats to get through the fire snakes here. Use the hookshot iframes.
I believe that was 14.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, you got to keep me honest, Ace. 15. 16, here we go. Oh, not on 17 today.
Not quite.
And
Do
blue
get our blue
king on
king.
check 18.
Not that that does anything for us at this point. No reason to break that out.
You hate to see it, but it could be check 22.
Yeah, that is... Well, in this case, the 22 is... The 22 that you normally see is the one we already have done with Tile Room. Meanwhile, we see that jooniejoone has picked up his bow, and he's finishing up Palace of Darkness right now.
And everyone's favorite show, Armos on Ice.
The sparkly, shiny edition with the silver arrows. 21, and he grabs the last one just in case it's, I don't know, charge beam or high jump boots, I guess, would be the value that neatorific's looking for.
I'm thinking might have been a mail upgrade. He's going into Ganon on green mail. Not that that's impossible
true
for these runners, but sure would rather take a Ganon hug in blue mail.
Yeah, I think with the ammo count they have, the high jump boots might be more comfortable just because the movement's easier. Might be the biggest thing, at least for me. That's what I would be looking for. But any of those three, mail upgrade, high jump boots, charge beam, would all be kind of nice.
And we've got Helmosaur King down on Junie's side.
So he's just got a mirror finish up his Eastern Palace as well. Unfortunately, he's gotten a little bit farther behind by being that late to the bow. It's looking unlikely he'll be able to catch up, but he can definitely save some time with his GT routing. Potentially save some time on execution if we have any issues over on neatorific side.
Yeah, if he decides to go full left side, he'll be rewarded. Not just for the extra checks, but also the tile room that neatorific took the pause for.
Exactly, that's what I was just going to say. You beat me to it. I suspect that he won't be doing tile room, so if nothing else, that'll save him some time. Neatorific doing some nice fire rod strats here for the gauntlet. Clearing it out with ease.
We're looking at Lammoth too. And Silver Arrows not going to waste his time with the fire rod as he was forced to do earlier without that bow. Takes it back with a vengeance.
That was very nicely done.
And a gorgeous cleanup of the whiz robes with that Kana Samaria strat. And another just great efficient movement through this tower climb.
Yeah, I love watching the end of these SMZ3 races, these combo randomizers, where you get to see top tier Ganon's tower execution, where it just feels and looks so smooth, and it's amazing to watch. And then you see the same thing in Turian right after, in most cases, where it's just nothing but pure execution, and it's so much fun to watch.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's fantastic to see either of these single randomizers, and you know how you get down to those final game moments, seeing the play. But what a treat to get to see it done back to back. And with that crystal clear on Junie's side, he is going to be making his way up Death Mountain for his Ganon Tower climb. Again, the big key for Ganon's Tower was at the end of the Ice Armos. That top back left chest. Moldorm going down on neatorific side. Yeah, between that... yeah, you see him checking. I would imagine probably is that high jump check that he's looking for, or charge beam.
Yeah,
But it's
and that
just...
one's so close that you almost might as well if there's anything that could help you out still.
Yeah, as you see between the Lammo 2 and the Moldorm 2, just lightning fast execution, not wasting any time. And we've got Agam making his first appearance.
Well, that was a bit of a tough pattern, and got a blue ball from it as well. A little unfortunate in this Aga fight. The first one was great. That was a potentially good pattern for 2 hits. It's almost through it though. Nicely done there. Double would have been a triple had he needed it to clean up the fight. You can see sync cutscenes. GT opening on jooniejoone side while Bats dropping into the pyramid on neatorific side.
Yeah, it just gives you a sense of how that bow search kind of set the tone for the end of this match. Actually, interesting, Junie is going to go ahead and go over and grab that mail upgrade.
Yeah, that's a little surprising. He hasn't really had any issues with health, in particular in Link to the Past. He had some areas where he had low health in Super Metroid, mostly due to his decisions of taking damage instead of taking safer strats. But so it surprised me that he's being that cautious here. Although I don't think he does have any potions. That is a difference, that neatorific does have those blue potions that he bought. I think he's got 2 left. jooniejoone does not have any.
Yeah, I for sure know he used 1 in Meyer. I think he does still have 2 left. But making use of the cape strats to be able to get through phase 2 of Ganon, as we're in phase 3 now.
That's a nice setup there. Yeah, it's a nice setup for a double hit too, with the warp that the Ganon took, giving him space on the left side to stand and shoot him to the right where he's got room to move.
And at 2 hours and 41 minutes, we are all wrapped up with A Link to the Past for neatorific here, but we're not quite done. There is still one more reigning terror that needs to be taken down here.
Yeah, you can get your single G's in chat for neatorific. Beating one of the 2 games. And it looks like, apart from Tile Room, we are seeing the same GT routing from jooniejoone. He went to the left side, kind of doing the Dark Magician strat, where you go to the Stalfos room first, then mirror out to the right. I suspect he'll be mirroring out after the Compass room as well, after grabbing these 4 chests.
Yep.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, I was gonna say, surprised us with that mail pickup, but not with that tile room skip.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little surprised he's grabbing that small key, actually. I think he already has... He has enough that if he doesn't waste any, and he picks up the mini Helmasaur key upstairs in GT, there's no way he can, be out of keys. He doesn't need that one, essentially. That is not the optimal key for him to pick up, but it's kind of one of those things where you always want to pick it up to be careful, and maybe just autopilot kicks in and says, hey, I did Compass Room, I'm mirroring, I want to grab this key to make sure I'm safe.
We've got the first Metroid room here on neatorific side. No doubt happy to have the Ice Beam and the Plasma Beam here.
Yeah, Wave Beam is a little nice here. Makes it easier to hit them with the wider spread from the beam. he's doing a good job getting through here without any trouble. Oh, that was a little weird. I didn't expect that. Does get grabbed by one of the Metroids in the 4th Metroid room. It looked like they were all grouped together really nicely for that shot to freeze them, but one of them got away somehow.
Takes a little bit longer, but he clears his way just fine, and we're over to the baby Metroid.
See if neatorific's able to get the baby skip in here without the wave beam. He's certainly confident in it with his setup, not damaging down. Not able to get it, unfortunately. But yeah, by not damaging down, showed us that he was committed to doing it and confident he was going to be able to. Some runners will kind of hedge their bets, take some damage before you're able to attempt it, just in case things go wrong, that it drains you a little bit faster.
Yep, and from our vantage point, we know he has a comfortable lead on this, but I'm sure that doesn't feel good in the moment. And while he's filling up on energy here, we've got Armos on ice for Junie. He'll be grabbing that big key soon. And take a pause on this for myself to reflect that didn't need that mushroom.
Nope, not at all. Didn't need the mushroom, didn't need the shovel. A couple of out-of-the-way checks that unfortunately didn't make our runners suffer too much. Unfortunately for our viewing pleasure.
Getting the nice Zeb skip.
Yeah, that was really good. That speed Zeb skip is really difficult. Very impressive for him to pull that off first try. It's a very short charge to do, and on top of that, you have the door transition in the way that just really makes the timing difficult to handle.
But like he's been doing all night, making it look easy.
Absolutely.
And armed to the teeth here with ammo. 60 super missiles and 102 regular missiles left over. I can't imagine he'll have trouble dealing the damage he needs to. Oh, and an unfortunate bridge fall there for Joonie.
Oh, that's really bad RNG on Joonie's side from that Zazik, the blue one, to kind of hide below that block. Wasn't able to hit him. Neatorific damaging down to 3 E-tanks. He does not have charge beams. There's not very much of a reason to do stand-up glitch. You could potentially save some almost negligible amount of time doing it just to manipulate how the baby Metroid leaves the screen, but it's not worth the risk. Take it easy. Wait for the cutscene to play out.
And we've got Lamo 2. Had a very nice job on Joonie's side to get the one cycle. Those silver arrows. Just making it look easy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's another example of both the runners with the same consistent, solid boss fight. They both got that one cycle in Mo 2. The silvers.
And in a heartbreaking moment, the baby Metroid goes down, but it's going to be just what Neatorific needs to finish this off. Just a few more shots with this Hyper Beam to Mother Brain, be able to start that escape sequence, and get on to a very nice victory. Hard fought.
Yeah, and this is a very good time for the seed. Even though it wasn't particularly rude, there were a lot of checks, as we mentioned before, and essentially full clearing Super Metroid before touching anything in the Dark World of Link to the Past, with a few key exceptions. At least the main Dark World area. It means there could potentially be a lot of checks still to do. Things can kind of drag on sometimes in seeds like this, but these guys cleared out so many things so quickly. Neatorific on pace for easy sub 3 hour time, which is always a good benchmark you want to hit, at least for runners of this caliber.
Yeah, and as you said, you know, when they finished what was practically a full clear of Super Metroid, at that point, so much, you know, that was the first time they were really exploring the Dark World. So much open to them, but our runners with just very effective routing, effective clearing of spaces, making the best use of the equipment they had, and really taking what could have been a drawn-out seed, and making the most of it. Very respectable times on both sides. As we're wrapping up on Neatorific's side, Junie's going into that Ganon fight.
Yeah, get your GGs out for Neatorific, finishing with an official time of 2:50:22. What is on his timer is official. Very well done. That's a fantastic seed. Well played.
GG's indeed.
Looks like at this pace, Joonie might be close to that sub 3 as well. It's going to be hard to say if he's going to be able to make that cut or not. It's going to be very close one way or the other. And how his Ganon fight, Turian, Mother Brain, how all that goes.
Junie employing those same cape strats, even though he did grab the blue mail. He also found the butter sword. Not a huge damage increase, but it will make this phase 3 just a little easier.
Yeah, it doesn't really do anything extra for damage on Ganon. Actually, it does have a longer hitbox, which can potentially make phase 2 a little easier in my experience, but it's pretty negligible for this purpose. With silver arrows especially, it's essentially the same.
And speaking of silver arrows, that's all 4 he needs. Junie going to be crossing that bridge and making his way into Torian.
And a sign that you know the runners cleared a lot of things is when you look at their health counts, sitting there with 13 E-tanks for jooniejoone. That is quite a few. Almost got them all. Just missed one somewhere. He has pretty similar ammo counts to Neatorific, actually. Looks like he's got a little bit more health and less missiles. I think it was the same number of super missiles.
Yeah, I think that's what Neatorific had.
Either way, it's certainly enough for Mother Brain. Rest of Turian, we get to watch his excellent execution through here.
Yeah, with everything that they picked up, you know, pretty stocked loadouts, a lot of health, a lot of ammo. You gotta wonder what was even in those pendant dungeons. Still missing
Yeah,
the high jump charge.
charge. Morph bombs would have been nice early for sure for these guys. I want to point out that was a fantastic job clearing out those pirates. Those 2 wave spazer shots to kill each one that was excellent. I love seeing that. It was so smooth. Looks like he did forget to turn on his ice beam on the elevator, so, and the plasma beam, of course, is more effective than spazer at this point.
Very nice Metroid room. And just one more Metroid room to go on Junie's side. And we'll see his attempt at the baby skip. And nicely grabbing all 3 in one shot, taking him out.
Yeah, and jooniejoone potentially not feeling confident in his baby skip, or just, you know, never be too cautious. Going and damaging down in case he misses it. So it's 1 less E-tank to have to drain. Oh, I guess he's not going for baby skip. Curious if that's something maybe isn't in his skill set, or, you know, in his playbook, or maybe just knows his opponent's finish. Might have seen that in the chat and just, you know, wants to take it easy, kind of get to the finish, not stress yourself too much about that really difficult trick at the very end of the race. Although, having said that, no high jump does make the baby skip significantly harder too, so that's also potentially a factor there.
Yeah, Junie's looking at still be cutting it close, but might be able to pull that sub 3.
Yeah, it's looking like he might be right on that line.
Just a hair over, if anything.
Yeah, nice showing off a different version of that Zeb skip. Not using the speed booster strat, but instead just freezing the Rinka there. With Wave Beam, that strat is significantly easier, so that makes a lot of sense to do it that way.
And as we've said a few times tonight, even though, yes, we do already have neatorific finishing in the winner of this race, the time that Junie is pulling out here, absolutely impressive and respectable, especially for a seed that required so much thorough clearing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thorough clearing. For Link to the Past as well, boots were fairly late. We did all of the light world checks without boots, of course, which is a pretty noticeable time difference.
A couple of dungeons, too.
Yeah, and that ended up being one of the unfortunate things for jooniejoone, is that Swamp Palace clear without boots probably cost a minute or 2 on his time. And it looks like while we're watching jooniejoone finish the fight, we are joined on the mic by neatorific, winner of the race. GG, Nito.
GG, thank you.
GG indeed.
So how did you feel about that seed?
I felt like you could have easily cut 30 minutes by just going to Hype Cave first and doing your boot checks right after. Because every single dungeon was go-modable, except Eastern, because Morph Ball was there.
Yeah, that's what we expected. We saw looked like a rage slash when you found the bow there in King's Tomb.
Because if I had found it like in Ice Palace or Turtle Rocks, like okay, I had no real way of knowing, so full clearing the crystal dungeons wasn't a bad play. But I usually go to Hype Cave first, and I didn't this time.
Yeah, that's interesting because Hype Cave first could have. We were thinking that could have potentially been bad if I had suspected that maybe what you were thinking, but if you'd gone to Hype Cave before getting the cane, it could have potentially pushed into a full clear pod, which was actually a really good key layout for a go mode pod.
Yeah, I almost went to Helma without a key, but I quickly realized my mistake when I hit the switch.
Yeah, that was a good catch. He dropped down and then went back out of the arena the other way. And there was surprisingly not very much route divergence this seed the whole time. I know you guys, you and Junie have played together a lot. Was any of that? Do you know his routing style, what he likes to do, where he likes to go? Was any of that a factor in what you chose to do?
I mean, I was semi-expecting Junie to do something really hard for no reason, like a bootless lava dive or something like that. Because even I was tempted to do it, but I decided to go to Link to the Past and found the myths, so I had and the flute in Upper Norfair, so I didn't need to do a lava dive. But I forgot how hard the Lower Norfair is when you don't have any weapons or screw attack or anything. Everything just kicks your ass.
Yeah, you definitely. I think you took it a little bit safer down there because jooniejoone was taking a lot of damage from everything in Lower Norfair, kind of face tanking some enemies. He came out with around 1 E-tank.
I almost died when I got knocked in the acid by the purple diver things. You know, like the.
Oh right, yeah.
Because I couldn't get out of the acid. I was thinking, that's it, I'm dead. But I managed to sneak out. But yeah, Lower Norfair is with just Varia, no high jump boots, and no plasma beam or screw attack. It's kind of rough.
Yeah, absolutely. But you did a good job handling it for sure.
So until Moon Pearl, this was pretty much on rail. I can't see why we didn't really have any divergence in our routing. After that, since we had Myths, Moon Pearl, Hammer, we had the entirety of Link to the Past open to us. The play to Hype Cave, and then right, I forgot about Kane. Kane was at Hammer Pegs.
Yes.
Yeah, it was essentially more or less a full clear of Super Metroid and then a wide open Link to the Past.
Yeah, we were looking for 3 items. 4. Boots.
Fire Rod.
Fire Rod, yeah.
Cane.
Fire Rod was not necessary, because we could have skipped Fire Rod, actually, although it would have been hard to do so. But
you got the lamp, you needed one of the two.
yeah, it wasn't right side GT, so logically the Fire Rod was not required.
Yeah. The lamp was obviously logically required, but you could have done it with the Fire Rod instead if you hadn't ever found your way to the Zora area.
Yeah, I cleared. I went back to do the Sphere 1, 2, 3 checks because I was worried Bo was very early in the logic, and I just skipped it. But I didn't want to do Ice Palace and then find out that Bo was, at Zora.
Yeah, that was one thing that we noted, that you guys both played pretty conservatively. And some of those early checks, like you just mentioned, was one of those things. Like when you first went back to Link to the Past, after things started opening up, and you checked Hyrule Castle at that point, that was was that just like a safety play? Were you worried about having missed something there, or expected jooniejoone to have done that?
It's just that in the past, most of the time, while skipping something really early, like Hyrule Castle, I've been punished really hard in the past for doing these skips. So I don't really like to skip sphere 1 or 2 anymore. I mean, I'll put them off and I'll come back when I can do them all in one shot for some routing efficiency. But I would never skip Hyrule Castle unless the Go mode falls in my lap, like an hour and 20 minutes in.
Gotcha. We are also joined here in the interview by jooniejoone. GG's.
Hello. Thank you.
GG's. Great race.
Yeah, GG Nito.
So what hung you up? What was there?
Oh, Nito, I didn't go to King's Tomb until very late.
Oh, yeah, that was my
So-
Go mode too.
Oh, was it? Yeah. So I had already, like, I went through Ice Palace and went up to Catfish, and actually, I don't know if the Catfish part was before that or not. But yeah, I didn't even think about King's Tomb or Bonk Rocks until after Ice. I was actually planning on going up to Turtle Rock after Ice Palace, and then I thought, oh no, I should check these.
I was doing my boot checks too before heading to Turtle Rock.
Mm.
Yeah,
And
you guys were actually really close, like pretty much the whole race. There were a few minor differences, a lot of like very small route divergence, like, you know, one of you checked checkerboard before Agina instead of the other way around, and you like literally high-fived while you were crossing to do those checks. Things like that. But yeah, the two big differences. One, actually, that kind of neatorific, you pulled ahead a little bit because you did Hype Cave before Swamp Palace, and Junie, you chose to do Swamp first. Did you consider doing it the other way around, or was that?
Yeah, there was still so much to find at that point. So I just figured I usually do Hype Cave before Swamp. But in this case, I was like, well, I'm probably going to be full clearing Swamp anyway, because I still had to find the cane. I still had to find I don't remember if I had the other sword yet, but I had to find a bow. I had to find some fire source. Like, there was so much left to find. And so I was just like, I'll just, rather than walk all the way up there without my boots and then walk all the way back down again, I'll just do Swamp first.
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad play. When you're looking for at least 3 items, it's like, what are the odds all 3 will be in Hype Cave? Could happen.
Yeah.
It could happen, but if you're only 1 item from Go, then absolutely you check Hype Cave first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, it was just
I agree with
unfortunate that you ended up walking through all of Swamp Palace instead.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then of course, like you mentioned, you were a little bit behind, and then looking for that bow, pretty close behind still though. Only a couple minutes at like Pyramid Fairy checks, and then the Catfish. Then you did Ice Palace was the big thing.
Mm-hmm. So did Nito go straight to the boots checks then?
Yeah, he did
After
basically the
Catfish?
same thing, just Catfish, Sora area, and then save and quit to the King's Tomb area.
I full cleared all the crystal dungeons. Then I went back to finish Meridia and check. I hundoed Super Metroid, and then I came back and I did all my overworld checks basically, and I stumbled upon Bow. If I didn't find it in my boot checks, I would have gone to Turtle Rock for sure.
Yeah. This is a weird one, having so many items so deep into the game, because a lot of times it's you're looking for 1 or 2 items. By the time I get to about the 2-hour mark, I'm hoping to be 1 or 2 items from Go mode, and in this seed that wasn't the case. So I did a lot more checks than I normally would in non-dungeons. I think if with that Moon Pearl being so late, if there was only 1 or 2 Go mode items, I probably would have gone Thieves Town first and then just started doing dungeons. But instead I was doing all the I went up to Skull Woods, did the whole world tour and all that.
So that's the only thing that I'm happy about, is I managed to stay out of the pendant dungeons.
Nice. Yeah. Let's see, what were the pennant? The only one I did was Ice. I did go into Skull Woods.
Well,
That's right.
yeah, that was.
Yeah.
I guess that was another point of divergence. Skull Woods, and then there was some divergence in Meridia too. The way you guys both handled that, because Junie, you went to Dragon first, and then checked Sand Pits and Shack Tool, and left with your shovel on the way back. And neatorific, you did the opposite. You got that shovel early and then went in the back door for Dragon. Was the shovel there for either of you guys? Did that affect your decision on how you routed the rest of Meridia?
Yes.
It didn't for me. No.
If
mean,
it had, go ahead.
It was just that was one of the last items I picked up. So.
Oh yeah, I guess you did
my
do
way out
plasma.
anyway.
You did do plasma after that. I was curious if you were gonna skip plasma to lock that in and not have to do the backtrack. You both ended up doing plasma.
I reset it out of plasma because I had a save earlier. But yes, the shovel made me change my route. I kept it and I went back to Link to the Past, the circling around back. But if it had been nothing like bombs or rupee or whatever, I would have gone all the way to Dragon and full cleared the rest of Meridia right there.
That's right. That shovel was on at Spring Ball, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, I guess my normal route through the sand pits is I do right sand pit, shack, and then plasma, and if I don't find anything, then I reset. So I guess that's the only thing that would have been different for me is I would have just reset after plasma.
Oh, and mushroom on pet, that was mean.
Oh, I didn't.
I was gonna ask. Yeah, was that towards not going in any pendant dungeons yet at that point? Were you starting to think? Was it there? Was it in the back of your head?
Oh, the gears were running in my head. I was like, it's gonna be at mushroom. It has to be, but I mean, it felt like a plan though. Shovel at shack tool, mushroom on pads, or all we were missing is like powder on lumberjack ledge.
Yeah,
Right.
It kind of strung you along like a Plando too, with the get your Varia suit to do Lower North Fair, to get your Gravity suit to do Meridia, like very sequential.
Yeah, I felt the sea was on rail until Moon Pearl.
That's a good way to say it.
Yeah, that Moon Pearl was so late.
And
Hey,
we had mids, hook shot, and hammer at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've said it a few times. You kind of had the opposite experiences. You had the Super Metroid, which kind of walked you along, and then it just dumped you off with a wide open Link to the Past. And fortunately, none of the pendant dungeons were required to dip into or anything.
And the crystal dungeons were go-modable, all of them except Eastern.
Oh, Nito, did you do fake flipper early and see that lamp?
No, I only fake flipper to Hobo.
Okay.
I would have scouted the lamp if I had Moon Pearl there. I would have done the Waterfall Cave and checked the ledge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't get that until real late. I couldn't full clear many of the crystal dungeons for a long time because I didn't have bow, I didn't have a fire source, I didn't have cane.
Well, you had thieves, you had swamp.
Yep. Yeah, so I did those.
And
But
Hera.
that was like.
All right, Hera.
Oh yeah, Hera. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing
but-
required.
Junie, you dipped into Desert Palace. At least you got both items out, which I guess was nice, or at least saw both items in the front, but weren't able to clear it.
Yeah.
Whereas neatorific, you skipped that till later, did a little bit more efficiently. Again, you did it with the boots. Another little minor time save.
Yeah.
But yeah, those dark rooms were, you guys did a good job, but there was clearly a little bit of difficulty in a couple of those on each side.
Oh yeah, Dark Mire. I mean, I need to practice that again because I do it so infrequently that I forgot exactly my setup. So,
Yeah.
You know what's funny? I forgot that I didn't have lamp until I stepped into the basement. And all of a sudden I couldn't see myself. I was like, oh yeah, I don't have a lamp. I guess I'm doing this in the dark.
Yeah,
Right.
we were a little worried because you didn't have any potions, Junie. And neatorific, I was actually not sure what you were buying them for when I saw you buy the potions. Like, you were playing really well and you just don't need 3 blue potions. You're too good for that.
I
And
mean,
and then I remembered you didn't have the lamp when you went in the dark room. The same thing. I was like, oh yeah.
I was
Maybe
still
that's
on
the
Green
same.
Mail, and everything in the Dark World does 2 or 3 hearts of damage. Again, and Hug is 8. It's like I'm gonna
Yeah.
buy a few safeties just in case, because I had more money than I needed.
Yeah, it was a good call, especially since you did have a little bit of trouble and you needed the one in Misery Mire.
Yeah, I need to find a new setup because I don't know. I'll practice that.
Yeah, I had some issues in there too. Of course, again, it was kind of jumped on me. I went and set up the spooky glitch and everything, and then not gonna
Oops,
do
can't
spooky
see.
in the dark.
Oh, you
Yeah.
can. It's just incredibly difficult.
I'm sure you can, yeah. But I can't. So
Yeah, you guys did have some nice consistency with bosses, which I found interesting too. You both got the crate quick kill, which was nice. Both had a Moldorm fall to even out. Both had I think it was both 4-round Fantoons
oh,
to
that
even each
Phantom
other
fight.
out.
It's awful.
You didn't give me any short patterns. That's so mean. It's like every time I'm ready for him, I'm like, let's go. Short, short. Nope. Long, long, long.
Yeah, you both had like equally good boss fights on the same bosses and some trouble with some of the same bosses, which was interesting to
so
see.
funny.
Like the Moldorm fall in particular was noticeable that you each had one Moldorm fall, which probably felt bad, but at least it was, a wash.
Yeah.
I do it ever so often. I'm like, I'm gonna cut the corner around Molten. No, you can't do that. You're gonna get knocked back. It's not. You can't slide off Moldorm. He just knocks you back half a screen. Little things you forget like that sometimes.
So do you know when this is gonna be played back?
I'm not sure.
I'd be interested to watch it.
We're getting later tonight, possibly.
Cool.
You can
cool.
always watch the VOD too.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, I think you guys will be excited to watch this because for the most part, you were in step. I mean, there were a lot of things, and then as you came out of, the first big divergence was that choice to finish clearing Meridia, and neatorific for you to move on to A Link to the Past. But even then, when you guys went back to kind of cover each other's steps, it really doesn't break apart until the boots grab.
Oh, yeah, they were in a hype cave. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, GG's again to both you guys. Neatorific, any thoughts on your upcoming match against Aussie?
Yeah. I'm probably writing this one off as a loss, so I'll just try to have fun.
Just meme a bunch.
I mean, if the seed is super trolly, I have a chance. But if it's a jet seed, there's no way. So I'm just gonna go do these weird checks and hope something good is there.
Sounds good. Well, good luck in the match. And Junie, any thoughts about the tournament since you're out now? Anything else you wanted to say?
Oh, it's just fun. I love these things. It's a good time. I'm surprised I made it as far as I did. That's my thought.
Thanks for the hard work.
All right, yeah. Thanks for racing. You guys both did really well. Anything else from you? 329th in line.
No, I would just say thanks to both of you. It was an incredibly awesome race to watch, and I could totally see how you both ended up here. Very talented runners. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. Just exciting to be a part of.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And good luck, neatorific. Moving on.
Yeah, thank you.
You got this.
Yeah, I'm just gonna echo that. You guys follow both these runners, Neatorific and jooniejoone, both fantastic at the game. And shoutouts to Link Force Zero and Miss Metroid who helped track as well. Appreciate that to make everything fun to watch. Keep us in line.
All right. Well, I think that's gonna do it for us. GGs to both of you again, and make sure you take a follow to my co-commentator Ace Zero. Thanks so much, man. Awesome time. And good night.